Welcome to the iconic seaside community of Saint-Tropez, one of the world's most glamorous destinations, and for the third time, a host city for the world's best sailors, as SailGP's fourth season makes a stop on the Côte d'Azur. This is the France Sail Grand Prix Saint-Tropez. After two exciting events in the U.S., the 10 national teams have made the move to European waters. The beauty of this region will play host to 2 days of racing on the crystal blue waters of the Mediterranean. Alongside Olympian Stevie Morrison and former world champion Emily Nagel, I'm Todd Harris. Points are at a premium as Season 4 enters the European leg of the calendar, and as every team looks to maximize their position going into the final day, 3 fleet races are scheduled for today, with an additional 2 races tomorrow before the last race, the event final, which will feature only the top 3 teams on points after the 5 races. And it's worth noting that each team wins 10 points for each victory. Last place only gets you a single point. And before we go racing, it's time to take a look at the course that we have here on the beautiful Mediterranean here in Saint-Tropez, France, for stop number 3 of Season 4.
Well, the course here in Saint-Tropez, as always, requires a fast start to lead at Mark 1. After the first turn, the boats can sail their own course, trying to find the shortest time between gates. At each gate, they can turn left or right. Remember, sailing boats only go up fast when they're sailing at an angle to the wind, so we see them zigzagging around the course to give themselves tactical advantage. It's a gusty, shifty wind here in Saint-Tropez, so sailing the shortest course and trying to stay on the foils is going to be the ticket to finishing first under the fans on the shoreline here in Saint-Tropez.
Well, the fans continue to make their way down to this beautiful part of the world as they get ready for some of the greatest racing out on water. This is SailGP. This is the France Sail Grand Prix Saint-Tropez, event 3 of Season 4. Before we go racing, we want to bring you up to speed on what has happened so far, and it has been some great action out on the water at some very iconic locations. Starting off, Stevie, in Chicago.
Well, Chicago got off to a great start, a brilliant first day, fast foiling fun out there for the teams, and it was no surprise to see that New Zealand came out the blocks likely in second day, but they got their season off and running with a victory, and they'll desperately want to win that championship.
After Chicago, we headed to LA, a new venue for everyone. We had a really impressive performance by Spain and Denmark, our Season 3 underdogs. But we did have disappointing results by GBR, New Zealand and France, which has really impacted their overall performance this season.
And the big winners in Los Angeles, Spain, gets their very first victory in SailGP, and they celebrated in style on the Pacific. So after 2 events coming into France, it looks like this. The 3-time defending and reigning champions, Australia on top with 17 points. Spain and Rockwell, Denmark are tied on 16. Then you've got Canada, New Zealand, Emirates, GBR, the USA, France, Switzerland, and Germany still looking for some big performances out on the water. And some big news happening actually on the water, Stevie. 2 teams deciding to swap flight controllers.
Yeah, I mean, it was some update we got to hear. Jason Saunders has left the Swiss team to join the French. Francois Morvan, he's gone across to Switzerland. Now, we don't know why, but to move someone in your big 3 at the back of the boat, it strikes me there's got to have been a falling out somewhere.
It could be drama, but also it could be a seamless transition. Jay Saunders, while he is a Kiwi, his partner Manon is French. He's one of the strategists on the teams. He is fluent in French, so it could actually be quite a seamless transition.
Well, it could be, and it'll be interesting to see who it works out well for. I mean, Francois Morvan, he's won events in SailGP. Of course, the French just missed out on the grand final last year, so can't help but feel it could be quite a good move for the Swiss. And they've got Nathan Outridge back at the back of the boat as well. He's in there as a strategist, so expect to hear a lot of his voice in the ear of Seb Snyder out there. But yeah, I think this could be a good move for the Swiss, but very interesting changes and big changes, Todd.
Yeah, we'll see what happens out on the water as France looking to have a big bounce back. Switzerland would also like to have a great showing here in these French waters. So the change, well, how will it all play out when the racing goes down? Earlier we spoke with their driver, Seb Schneider.
We were super impressed by Francois yesterday. I think he made a really good job of adapting in the team. You know, he had to adapt to our playbook a little bit. He was used to do only 1 board in the maneuvers, and he straight away did the 2 boards perfectly. And yeah, in some of the maneuvers we actually felt better than before. So yeah, it was really impressive how quickly he adapted to us, and we're really happy.
So the stage is set for day one of the France Sail Grand Prix Saint-Tropez. Let's go down on the water, check in with the fourth member of our broadcast team, Olympic silver medalist, Lisa Darmanin.
Today in the Gulf of Saint-Tropez, we have a building thermal breeze. Winds are averaging 22 kilometres per hour and expecting to gust up to 28 kilometres from the southeast. The direction means the wind is blowing over the hills, making the breeze very gusty and puffy, but that provides plenty of opportunities for the sailors to find more wind and fly faster around the racetrack. They've got the tall 29-metre wings to harness plenty of power and keep foiling across the course. But we know it is probably all going to come down to the start, Todd. It's a very compact course out here.
All right, thank you very much, Lisa. Quick question before we let you go, Lisa, go racing. What's the anticipation for more wind throughout the day in this 90-minute window we have with the 3 races that we're expecting?
I think the wind will peak around race 2, and as I said, they've got those big wings, so the teams will have to be really careful to make sure they harness that power around that turning mark. That first turning mark could get pretty exciting, so I'm looking forward to the middle of the day out here.
All right, thank you very much. More from Lisa Darmanin. Down on the water throughout the day. Steve, we get a good look at France right now. One of the many teams, I should say, that is really looking for a big bounce back. Can they do it on home waters?
Well, yeah, I mean, big changes. I don't know who led those changes in terms of Jason Saunders coming across. Was that the French trying to steal Jason or the Swiss trying to steal Francois? I'm not sure. I get the feeling Contan was keen to sail with Jason, but we see there Amélie Rieu, strategist. Last year, she was on board the USA boat that won here, so she's actually won in Saint-Tropez. The French have won since then as well, but they do need a bit of a turnaround. I expect big things for them, but to change someone in your back 3 is punchy at best.
Emily, you know how the configuration works on these teams. There's a lot of communication. There has to be that synchronicity working in spec. How hard is it to introduce someone like that and have success right off the bat?
It's definitely a challenge. You've got to adapt to the communication role. Every team has a different way of communicating their maneuvers, different names for things, and just the frequency and tonation that everyone's speaking with.
I think so. What you've got to remember, if you're sailing one of these boats, that back 3, you've got someone steering, you've got someone doing the big trimming, that huge wing sail, trying to get the power out of that, and you've got a third person trying to fly the boat. So try driving your car with someone doing the gears, someone doing the pedals, and someone doing the steering wheel to actually not crash or to get to any form of performance. It's a big change, and to just bring that in mid-season, I mean, I'm sure they've got their reasons. Right. I'd love to. I hope we get to speak to Contan on the water at some stage today, and we'll be able to find out what the thinking was.
Well, it's 90 seconds away from put-up time as the 10 international teams get themselves into position here for race number 1. 3 races scheduled for today here on the beautiful Mediterranean, and right now the Australians, they lead the overall series. Can they get a good start? Yesterday in practice, they were not the sharpest team, Stevie. That honor would probably go to Denmark.
Denmark sailed a great event in Los Angeles, and yeah, yesterday they had the best practice day, but unfortunately, the practice day counts for absolutely nothing, which is good news for Australia. They didn't have a good day. But anyway, all that's in the books now. It's how do you perform in this next 60 seconds to get off the start.
So 1 minute away from the start of the first race here in France as everyone gets into position. We've had many different courses around the world, Stevie. What makes this one unique, and where do you want to position yourself?
Well, Mediterranean conditions, often more of a bumpy sea state than the wind will give you, but there's light breezes. Can they get the boats on the foils? I expect there to be a lot of on and off the foil action, so it's who can take the boat off best as we're on board here, Canada now. Phil Robertson spins the boat down, trying to protect his space.
Penalty Canada relative to Switzerland.
Too aggressive, too late. Canada's going to need to start out behind the fleet here. Disaster for them. We see that blue triangle. That marks the pole position here. Great Britain, they're going to have a bit of a run up, but it's New Zealand and Denmark well positioned in the middle of the line. Australia trying to dive in, but he's going to struggle to find a gap at the top of this line, Tom Slingsby. 10 seconds to go. Here we go. We're watching for the line to turn white, and then we'll be racing here in Saint-Tropez. Your timing looks a little early, Tom Slingsby. Who can get on the foils first as we blast to Mark 1? I think Australia just kept himself behind the line, but New Zealand out the middle of the line. They're going to be fast in towards Mark 1 from here. They've got a great angle. Can they hang on and roll around the top of the Germans?
On now, knocking.
On board with the Kiwis as they approach mark number 1, 6 legs race. This is the first of 3 races today in France. And look at the Germans in good position as well. France is also there.
New Zealand just in time. They had just enough speed to get over the top. Great start by Eric Heil on board the German boat as well. They were showing good form yesterday as New Zealand are going to be setting up for gate 2 very soon. Tight course, as Lisa said. Manoeuvres are key, but if you're out in front, you can choose your own destiny.
Emirates GBR the first to turn away. The Americans look like they're going to join them as Canada and Spain also decide to pull away this time. And New Zealand leading the fleet out in front. They also make the maneuver. So it's New Zealand, Germany, and France. 1, 2, and 3 here as we move on to leg 2.
Bring down. No high touch.
Here we go, New Zealand well set up. They're going to be trying to minimise the... Every time you turn the boat, you slow down. Now, you've got to turn the boat because the boats can't sail straight upwind and downwind. But New Zealand, we look for a left turn here. I imagine they're going to try and keep it simple.
Currently, they are the fastest boat on the course, the only team doing over 50 kilometres an hour.
Huge lead. They're not going to have to do any more manoeuvres, but most of the other boats, I think Denmark are going to struggle to get there without doing 2 more turns. Germany have missed the manoeuvre and fallen off the foils. They're slow coming into gate 2, and it's going to be really, really tight in the middle of the pack. Denmark will round second, and the USA, well, this is a much better start to the day for Jimmy Spitt. It was the Germans, they push it. That's going to be a penalty on Germany, I would have thought. They had to give right of way to the US, and I expect a protest, but we'll find more on that later as Emirates GBR dive inside. They're going to look to go around this mark in 3rd place. Great first downwind leg by the British crew, and they're going to get themselves moving upwind in clear wind, and we'll find out which side of the course is likely to be more favoured.
You can currently see on the top left that wind speeds are at 14.1 kilometres an hour. Now that is the critical speed to be able to get up onto the foils. So we're not expecting foiling manoeuvres at this point from the teams.
So upwind now on leg number 3.
You can see down there on the left-hand side, we can see the true wind on New Zealand is a little bit more than Great Britain. If you can find more wind, that number on the top of our line there, you should be able to sail the boat faster. That's our fuel out here on the water today. So for those of you new to SailGP, let's remember the crews out there, the wind is not the same all over this course, so the crews are looking around, they're trying to find more wind, trying to find a different direction in wind to either go faster or sail a shorter distance.
And that wind is now dropping now below 12 kilometers an hour, so no one up and foiling right now, and they're trying to find that puff of wind, that gust that Lisa reported should be filling in on that other side of the course, and everyone's trying to find, Stevie, the sweet spot.
Yeah, and I think one thing to remember really here, I mean, when you're in the pack, like you see on the right-hand side of the screen there, they've got a big wing, and that wing is blocking the wind. So anyone further back in the fleet is getting more turbulent wind. So the key to doing good manoeuvres today really is to do them in space. When you're up and foiling, when you're going fast, and De La Pierre on board France has done a great job of finding some space. They're up and foiling here, and they're going to get themselves charging back towards the Kiwi crew at the moment.
USA was sitting in 3rd. They've dropped back to 6th as they found somewhat of a dead spot on the course right now, and they've dropped both poles into the water. And now France back up and foiling again. They sit in 2nd place behind New Zealand. Denmark sits in 3rd.
Here we go. They're going to be setting up for a manoeuvre soon here.
Potentially out.
Don't think they're going to be able to stay on the foils, but a good manoeuvre will be crucial. Let's watch in, see how this French crew can do. Bottom right-hand corner of our screen, they're about to turn. They've got clear wind, clear space. It looks like they do a nice manoeuvre. Look at that top of our screen. The whole fleet is drawn together. They're going to be struggling for much wind, and they all look very slow. It's going to get richer for New Zealand and France right now, but the Danes are up on the foils, middle of the screen, and they have the right of way. If it's close between Denmark and France, in about 5 seconds' time, it's going to be right of way Denmark.
They're just taking off. Facing up now, Andy.
This is the umpire's penalty, Canada, relative to Germany. Port tack boat not keeping clear.
We've got a similar situation coming here. The French don't have the right of way. He's got to be confident that he's clear. Oh, he's judged it well, Contan. They've kept the boat up on the foils. We can see there, one boat up in the air foiling, one boat in the water. It just is such a big difference in speed. If you can get that right, if you get it wrong and fall off the foils, it's very, very costly.
GBR looking really good here. They're one of the few teams up on the foils and coming across now.
I think what we're going to see a little bit of today, Todd, is as you come up, well, we had to speak to Lisa about this hopefully as the day goes on, but this top gate here, up under the shoreline, it's great for the fans under the shore there, but there won't be many ripples on the rosé on that shore at the minute because there's a lot less wind at the top end of this course, so the boats struggle to stay on the foils. But yeah, hopefully we'll be able to go down the water very soon and find out with Lisa how it looks.
All right, let's do that. Let's go down and check in with Lisa Darmanin as they approach the next gate. Lisa, what are you seeing?
They're on the way now.
We'll have to check back in with Lisa as we reconnect comms with her. This is leg 3 of 6, so nearing the halfway point. It is still New Zealand out in front. Great Britain now overtakes them, and they move into lead with New Zealand dropping back to 3rd, make it 4th with Denmark now in the 3rd position.
I think that could be an issue with our graphics at the moment there, Todd, because actually New Zealand did a good job. They're up on the foils. And I think what's interesting is the side that New Zealand's coming to here is away from the shoreline. I expect there to be a little bit more breeze out that way. Surprised to see Great Britain turn away so soon. But it won't be the first time Ben Ainsley's seen something I haven't.
Happy for it.
So as the rest of the fleet makes their way onto leg number 4 of 6, it'll be down the course, then back up, and then a quick right-hand turn to the finish line. We'll try checking in with Lisa Darman one more time. Big, massive boats up at the top of the course, Lisa.
Stand by, Dave.
There's actually a big hill that's sitting just above the gate that the boats are going around, and the wind is dumping over the top of it. So as they round that gate, they really accelerate. Where Great Britain and Denmark are going right now, that's where the gains were made the previous leg. So I think they're actually going to do quite well out of this. Keep your eyes on the Danish team.
So Denmark currently sitting in 2nd place.
Oh, there's a bit of action top left-hand side of screen. Apologies for the industrial language coming off the boat, so we can see a really tight boat. Spain looked like they turned right in front of the Canadians. Oh, and it was the boat, the Canadians, that should have had the right of way in that situation. Got to expect a penalty coming here. Phil Robertson, obviously heightened moves there. We can see boats falling off the foils, inaccuracy of manoeuvres. Decision-making is really, really hard.
And happy takeoff.
Well, just before we checked in with Lisa down on the water, you saw 4 boats all looking to see like they were jockeying for one spot. Meanwhile, we go on board with Switzerland. See the penalty now being doled out, looks like, to Canada, their 3rd penalty of this race.
Wow, that is amazing that the Canadians got a penalty for that. I could only assume that Phil Robertson just didn't see the Spanish. I'd have thought they'd been coming at each other from a different direction.
Let's build the speed in this
Bit of an unforced error by the Canadians there. Here we go. We're going to get to see what happened here. Canada, well, they had the right of way there, but he's manoeuvring. Oh, my Lord, look at the turn there. Wow. That's incredible scenes out there on the water. I mean, that we're going to have to ask a little bit more detail. The right of way looked to be with the Canadians, but they were turning direction here.
On board.
Oh, my word. I mean, that is a big, big moment. Hopefully no one's hurt. It looks like it stayed clear.
He did nothing there to even consider moving out of the way.
Got to say I agree with Phil on that one. I'm surprised which way the penalty went, but anyway, there we go. Mine is not to judge too heavily, but I was very surprised that the Canadians got a problem for that.
Back to the racing, we've got New Zealand still out in front and gaining every minute. The Brits have rounded in 2nd, with the Danish just coming up now in 3rd.
Behind us, following.
There's Rockwell, Denmark, making their way around, 1 hole in the water. H1 for them.
Happy, H1 job, board, yep.
Yeah, it's light at the bottom of that course, isn't it, Todd? And I think what we can see here, look, top left of our screen, New Zealand, just showing the benefits of being out in front. And of course, they don't tend to make many mistakes on that New Zealand boat either. So good positioning. He's sailing parallel to that yellow line. That yellow line that the Kiwi boat's sailing parallel to, that's what we call the lay line. That means he's going to make the next gate with no more turns required.
And here in the numbers, we can see just how much better the Kiwis are doing. 60% of the time they have been foiling. GBR in 2nd only at 53%, and the Danish in 3rd down to 34. And you can see that in their average speeds.
Some of the teams moving up the ladder, others moving down. For the USA SailGP squad, Steve Adele as high as 3rd on the 2nd leg, and now they find themselves dead last in 10th.
Story of their season, really. I think it's just slightly inaccurate manoeuvres. They fall off the foils, and then it's really, really painful to get back on the foils. Tom Slingsby here, he was stuck in the back of the pack. They've just sailed accurately and potentially going to get themselves a scoring result out of this. Middle of the pack, though, is still a long, long way behind this team. New Zealand, well, they look pretty slick out there today. Should be just 1 more turn to do at the gate, and then they're going to be finishing in under the fans.
They've just taken off out there.
Pretty cruisy view. Interesting, back of the boat there, Joe Alley, back on board as strategist. Bit of a change up by the Kiwis. She's been busy with her Olympic sailing programme through the early season, but of course she came on board when they won their first event in Plymouth last year. And well, perhaps no coincidence that she's back on board and they're straight out in front.
Look at this lead for the Kiwis out in front, the winners of the first event in Chicago, and they look to start things off here in Saint-Tropez with a big victory in race number 1. No one within sight of New Zealand SailGP, and it'll be Peter Burling and crew that'll bring it across the finish line in front of the Adrenaline Lounge to the applaud of the fans here in France on a beautiful day for sailing. The Kiwis with a great start, never really threatened throughout this race, and they will bring it home for a victory in race number 1. Meanwhile, penalty doled out to the Americans as they drop into 9th. So with one hole in the air, it is New Zealand that wins race number 1 here at the France Sail Grand Prix Day 1, Saint-Tropez.
Pete Burling saying great start, guys. I can't disagree. I mean, they led at Mark 1, brilliant start in these light conditions. And then, well, if you lead, you get the first pick of the goods in terms of the decision-making process. And we can see that when you're back in the pack, it's just so much harder to get up and going. But Emirates GBR, they were in the pack at gate number 2, found some space, and they've sailed well. And I think this is a pretty important event for Ben and the crew, because you can't beat around the bush. They're not doing very well in the season.
Yeah, currently Emirates GBR sits in 6th place overall on 9 points. And they've never had a problem, Stevie, it seems like, on day number 1 race. It's the second day that usually does them in. So a 2nd place finish is a great way to start their campaign here on the Med.
Good composure.
Well, I think you're going to need to keep your composure out there.
Nice hustle.
That is for sure. And well, let's say Denmark here, Rottwell, Denmark. I mean, they sailed very, very well in practice, and it's kind of quite symptomatic of how they are sailing at the moment. They're in the pack, but they're able to find. But if you are in the pack, the only way you can overtake is to try and get yourself sailing away from other boats, to find clear wind, find some space. And at the moment, Nikolai, and he's got Katja Silva Iversen behind him there in the strategist role, doing a very nice job of getting their head out of the boat and finding that space. And then the crew on board are delivering a fast boat to sail. So good result by Rottwell, Denmark.
I think they also make very intelligent decisions at all of the gate marks. They choose the sides with least boats. And we've seen big car parks, especially at that last bottom gate, where if you can get that space that you're talking about, so you can make huge gains getting ahead of multiple boats at one point.
So the Danes will check in at 3rd place as they cross the line, and now we've got a real dash to the finish for that 4th spot. Right now it's Australia that has the lead. Here comes Switzerland on their right-hand side, and France right behind them.
Yeah, Switzerland have the right of way in this situation here, Todd, so they're allowed to dive in and turn, and they're foiling, so they're going a lot quicker. Slingsby has to turn away. He's got to make sure he doesn't get himself stuck inside the Swiss. No right of way with Australia here, but the Swiss have done a nice job of getting the manoeuvre done, and they should now be able to get through and forth. What a comeback from the Swiss. You heard the voice of Nathan Outridge there, strategist, the wind whisperer at the back of the boat. Really enjoyed that, found some space. They were in last position early on in this race, and they've come back to what's going to be a very good counting 4th. Good recovery, exactly. I think that's going to be the story of the day. If you are in the pack, there's plenty of racing left on a day like this.
Umpires, penalty France, relative Germany, not entitled to room at the mark.
Oh, wow.
So France will have to drop back and lose a position. So 1 through 5 has now been contested. France will have to bear away. It looks like Germany may benefit as Spain will come in, and Spain will get 6th place.
It's a really tight finish. The French desperation there, diving in, and they've done a big manoeuvre here. Oh wow, costly for the French. France, USA and Canada, not a great first race.
So France having issues at the end. They were battling for a 6th possible position. They end up finishing in 8th place. The USA comes in 9th. They were as high as 3rd in that first race, and they crossed the line, Stevie, as you pointed out, just too many unforced error. In Canada, they picked up not 1, not 2, but 3 critical penalties, especially the one that got them at the start line, and then that one in the middle with a collision. We'll have to find out how that plays out with Spain.
Yeah, I think when we've looked back a little bit at the footage of that incident, I think what's been deemed by the umpires is the Spanish had already done their manoeuvre, and when the Spanish had finished their manoeuvre, despite not being in the right of way, Canada weren't lined up to hit them. The umpires have deemed that Canada changed direction to line up a collision, to make it into a situation, and then Canada were too late bailing out of that, which caused the collision. So yeah, for me, big call by the umpires, but they see a lot more data than we do. So it's a tricky start for the Canadians, because if you have a crash, then you're going to get penalty points as well.
So a big first race, race number 1 of the France Sail Grand Prix. Saint-Tropez is in the books. It is New Zealand that gets the win, the winner of the first event in Chicago. We now go on board with Peter Burling and crew. And Pete, what a way to start things off here in Saint-Tropez. We were expected lighter winds. How did it play out for you guys, and how were you able to find so much good space?
Yeah, it's definitely about as shifty and tricky as we've had it this whole season so far. So I think we obviously got off the start line pretty good, led at Mark 1, and then managed to get out of that second top mark, which was really where it was at.
Pete, tricky time at the rugby last night against the French, but clearly enjoying the conditions here. What's your priorities for this next race? Is there easy to have a good plan for the start?
I think you've got to be a little dynamic with your approach. Yeah, the breezes are up and down like 10k an hour or something, so you're ending with some huge gains and losses on the timings, but yeah, you just got to make sure you're good to go.
Pete, how are you guys feeling coming off that little bit of break and being in North America for so long, and now you're in European waters? I know you've always had great success here. How does it feel to be back in the Mediterranean?
Oh, it's awesome. We love it here in Europe. Yeah, we're traditionally done really well in these European leagues, and you know, just loving having so many friends and family around. You know, it seems like everyone in New Zealand wants to come hang out in Saint-Tropez, so we're loving having them.
All right, we appreciate the time, Pete. Congratulations. We'll look for you in race number 2. So it's New Zealand that gets the win in race number 1. Well played by them. Stevie, you talk about it all the time. If you get yourself into open space away from the crowd, you get undisturbed wind, and you can really choose what you want to do.
Yeah, if you've got clear air, no exhaust around, you can go fast, get the full performance out of these boats. And of course, there's a few teams as good at New Zealand at doing that when they get the opportunity.
What a day on the Mediterranean. Let's go back to the start of the race, Stevie. After Canada gets a penalty, it was all on at the line.
Yeah, so often the start absolutely crucial, and we saw the Germans did a great job at the bottom of the line, but it was New Zealand that managed to convert that midline start into a lot of boat speed. The British, Emirates GBR, they're in the pack, but I think this was perhaps the story of the race for Ainsley and the British. He was very aggressive in terms of sailing a strategy that differed to the rest of the fleet, and that meant he did find space. So New Zealand, we can see they were first out to take a left turn, but Emirates GBR, thanks to Ainsley's move back up the course, meant he could lead out of the right turn. And if you're leading out of one of these gate marks, you have clear wind. If you've got clear wind, the boats are going to be able to get up on foiling and are going to be able to get that speed that helps them get round the course quicker. So Ainsley did a brilliant job from in the pack of finding space. Well, he then maximised that, really. He got back in the race, in behind New Zealand, and New Zealand, well, they're the class of the field, so they made no mistakes from that position. But for Ainsley, for Rockwool Denmark, and they managed to make things go pretty well.
Yeah, top 3 goes New Zealand, Emirates GBR, and Rockwool Denmark. Top 3, the big winners in race number 1. Well, a beautiful day here in this part of France. Day 1 of the France Sail Grand Prix Saint-Tropez. This is event 3 of season 4. Stevie, this was the moment, though, everyone will be talking about at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, and you can see a slight curve in the wake of the Canadian boat, and I think that's what the umpires are adjudicating. They're saying that the Canadians turned towards the Spanish to cause a collision, and the Spanish didn't have time to keep clear. I mean, I find that it's a punchy manoeuvre by the Spanish, and we see there the Canadians' left-hand side of screen. They just got down off the foil. They were just low enough that they didn't actually fully board Canada. Very, very aggressive. But we see there, look, I mean, it's a very hard. As soon as you're off the foils for the Spanish, it's hard to keep clear. They put themselves in a very, very vulnerable position there, and well, luckily, no big disaster.
We have heard that there is damage on board, though, so we can expect some penalty points to get doled out at some point.
Wow. Keep the good news coming.
So both boats involved in that crash will be inspected closely. Remember, it was Canada and Spain that got together on the Mediterranean. Not what they were looking for, not the way they wanted to start off. The opening day here in France, in Saint-Tropez.
Season 3, Team Spain finished last. They've just brought in new CEO, Tony Alqueza.
We are not here to participate, we are here to win. The talent is there, the team is there. What I'm trying to do is just help them to excel.
Looks unlikely, but seems to me that Diego Botín from Spain is well positioned here to challenge the legend, Jimmy Spithill.
We're coming full speed before getting into the last corner into the finish.
Oh no, the US team digs the bow slightly.
Diego's flying.
Got a shot here. That's close.
And it looks like a photo finish.
Diego has it. Unbelievable attack in the very last moment of the race. It's a replay of race 1, but the roles are swapped. Diego leads the Americans.
The focus there was to put the boat in the best position so they couldn't pass us, and yeah, we managed to win the situation there to make it to the finish.
Last day of competition here in LA, and so far the surprise of the Grand Prix has been the young Spanish team.
We need to be careful now, because too much confidence with no control is not the perfect formula.
No, touch and go, yeah?
It's nerves and too many mistakes by the Spanish crew. They're now in last position. Right now, unless they overtake one boat, they're out of the final.
If it stays like that up there and we pass Swiss, we're good. 30 seconds to finish the race.
Spain, they've overtaken the Swiss, but it's not over yet. Yeah, the races have a time limit. They need to cross the last gate before the time runs out. And if they don't, they'll be out of the final.
It's really, really tight. I'm not sure they're quite going to get there.
And then are we?
Back in beautiful Saint-Tropez, France, event 3 of season 4. It's the France Sail Grand Prix. We take a look at the standings after one event. Remember, it's 10 points for win, 1 point for last. Emirates, New Zealand, they get the victory. Excuse me, New Zealand gets the victory. Emirates GBR in second place, with Rockwell, Denmark finishing in third. Then Switzerland, Australia, Spain, Germany, France, USA finish in ninth, and a rough way for Canada to start their campaign here in France. Before we get to the next race, let's go down on the water and Lisa Darmanin.
Well, Todd, the wind has shifted slightly to the right, which is why we're seeing the right-hand side of the course, that shore side, working a lot better. I think if a team makes it out in front, then they can sail their own race. They should minimise the manoeuvres with this big, heavy 29-metre wing. If you're behind, it's about going the opposite way. If you can prioritise that right-hand side, that is going to be key. If you're from 6th to 10th, it's going to be tough. So they're going to have to do something magical to catch back up if you're back in the pack at that first turning gate.
Hey, Lisa, I got to ask you, where were you in position to the Spain-Canada incident? Did you see it, and what was your take?
Yeah, I did see it. Unfortunately, I just catch the tail end of it. It looks pretty tight. I don't know. I know that the umpires are seeing a lot more than we are. But yeah, it was a pretty rough penalty on my eyes. But this course is so compact. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a few more things like that where there's late decisions being made and hopefully no contact. But there's not a lot of room on the course out here.
All right, thank you very much, Lisa. It's good to see Canada up and sailing yet again. The determination on the face of Phil Robertson, and Stevie, I can only imagine how frustrated he is, because it looked like they had a great start, penalized in the pre-start, but then double penalties back to back.
Yeah, I mean, they've got themselves up and running, and Phil's a world match race champion. There's an awful lot of experience on that boat. Chris Draper sat there in front of him, the wing trimmer, and they've sort of been there and seen it all before. But that incident, I mean, I think Lisa's point, the most important point we should remember is the umpires can see a lot more than us, and the rules are the rules. So they'll be judging based on far more information than the little snapshots we're seeing on the screen here and that Lisa can see from maybe 200 metres away on the water. So I think we have to, understand that there is more detail in it. But again, that you're always going to get tight decisions that go to an umpire, go to someone's interpretation of the rule. Phil clearly didn't agree with the umpire's interpretation, but it is what it is. They've got to move on now and try and get things going a lot better.
So coming up on 2.5 minutes to go before the start of race number 2. Emily, a lot of things to digest after race number 1, but everyone, as Stevie says, got to look to race 2.
Yeah, so looking forwards to race 2, as Lisa mentioned, the wind has shifted further right. So the original wind direction coming over the land, a little bit left of Saint-Tropez. Well, now it's coming directly over the city, straight over the hills. So because of that, we're going to have a few more of these helicopter puffs where the teams can't see them quite as well, and it's going to be quite gusty at that top end. Hopefully towards the bottom, it'll be a little more consistent wind direction, and we can see some good mark groundings.
The all-important question here in Saint-Tropez, which way is the wind coming, Stevie, and how much is coming our way, as we are now 1:45 before the start of race number 2?
We are, and well, it's all about the pre-race manoeuvres here to try and be able to hit the start line fast on the foils. We can see that start line in the middle of our screen. They're going to be coming from the side that the German boat is on the top of our screen at the moment, back down. So all the boats here coming into the starting box. They'll be on a timed run, but Pete told us you've got to be fairly fast on your feet and adaptive to the situation. The Kiwis do always like to be towards the back end of the boats coming in, which lets them see where everyone else lines up, pick their spot, and then hope to execute things. And well, anyone that needs a good race right now, it's Canada. They've got to turn things around after a disastrous race one.
That was interesting, the take when we talked with Peter Burley of New Zealand, how he was just so calculated, and it was just so matter of fact of how to get a great start. You know, just point by point, he just checks the box and moves along.
Yeah, they'll have a system. They're a very experienced team, and they've really sort of unlocked the code in many ways as to how to get off this start line well so often. But now they're right in the middle of the pack on that New Zealand boat towards the top of our screen. Can they find some space from there? I don't know that it'll be that easy. Australia well positioned, Denmark well positioned. They're early back. Denmark are close to the start line here. Hard for them to accelerate, so it's all about the judgment of when to take the boat off. Slingsby, much better positioning, and Great Britain and New Zealand have now found some space. New Zealand to the right-hand side of our screen are foiling, and they've got a good run in at the start line here. Well positioned on board. Denmark, Australia, New Zealand and Great Britain towards the top right of our screen, but the blue spot in the middle of the line there, that's the pole position, that's the position on the start that will give you the fastest angle towards Mark 1. It's all about your timing now though. Spain look a little bit early at the bottom of our screen, and France coming through at the top of the screen. Line turns white, penalty Germany, penalty Spain.
Early start penalty Spain and Germany, no delayed starters.
They're going to need to drop back in the pack from there, and the French, well, they're going to be leading away at Mark 1. France and Australia, Australia with the faster angle from the middle of the line. On board with Spain here, they've got to drop behind the whole fleet. As we see France are on the inside, they have the right of way. Can they hold on? Yes, they can. Great rounding by De La Pierre on board the French boat there, and now it's their chance to stretch away.
So it's France, Australia, and Great Britain at mark number 1, race number 2.
First to turn away in the background, it's a repeat of race 1. Emirates, Great Britain, he likes what he sees on that side of the course. First to turn, followed rapidly by New Zealand and Switzerland. They all like the wind on that side of the course. Top of our screen, that's where Lisa Darmanin said she saw more wind. If they can get into more wind, they will be able to sail these F50s faster. And we can see already, moving down our ladder lines, left to right across the screen, that's taken us that's taken us towards gate 2, and it looks like Australia have judged this one well out of the middle. Should be looking for a left turn at gate 2, and I think Australia will lead from here.
And look at Australia, they have overtaken the French on the ladder lines. They approach gate number 2, so it'll be Australia, France, and Great Britain, the top 3 here at gate number 2 at the bottom of the course, where the Australians desperately needed a big victory here. They got a 5th in race number 1.
Interesting here, Todd, what we see there. We see Australia and France. They've chosen to keep things simple, but New Zealand have chosen to do an extra manoeuvre, but they will be the first boat to turn right here out of gate number 2. Good opportunity for them to get going here and find some space in clear wind. Clever tactics by the New Zealand crew. They set that up at Mark 1. They made this happen. Now, have they found some wind? Can they stay fast?
In general, across the course, we are seeing more breeze. We're between 15 and 25 kilometres an hour of wind. So that's good news for all the teams. More foiling manoeuvres, hopefully, and some higher speeds.
There's pressure this way. We want to go all the way, I think.
That's the voice of Kyle Langford. Wing Trim Australia, they're top of our screen now. We can see them going as exactly like Kyle asked for, all the way to the boundary, maximising the width of the pitch there. So if Kyle's right and has found more wind, we'd expect a good game for Australia here versus New Zealand. Well, they had a pretty good lead already anyway. They're out in front, and we know the Roos tend to be pretty good when they've got a lead. They rarely give it up.
Australia, the 3-time defending and reigning SailGP champions, currently lead with a 1 point in the overall over Spain and Rockwool, Denmark, and this would be a huge improvement off that 5th place performance in race number 1. This is similar, Stevie, to what we saw in race 1 with the Kiwis checking out, and now it's the Australians' turn with France, USA, Great Britain, and Spain now all mired in the middle of the pack.
Yeah, don't be surprised to see that now. What New Zealand are doing is, we can see there Great Britain are going right to left, New Zealand going straight up our screen, and most of the race, New Zealand have been trying to keep going the opposite directions to other boats, which will give them space. But there's nothing better than having the space out in front. We're going to see Australia. Well, we've got our ladder lines on the course. They show how far they've progressed up the course, but we can see 150 metres lead already. I think we can expect Australia rather to try and keep things pretty simple from here.
Very early boundary.
At gate 3, it is Australia out in front, and they have got a huge lead, nearly 200 meters, with France sitting in second place. The Americans are back in the mix, with Great Britain just off their left-hand side as they reach back to the top of the course. Let's check in with Lisa Darman. And Lisa, what are you seeing? It looks like there may be some shifting going on with the wind.
Stand by. Stand by.
Yeah, huge right shift. So the American team and the British team were just sailing way less distance. So that's how they've got back into the race. But really tight battle here between USA and Great Britain, getting very slow. So the boats behind have an opportunity to catch these boats now.
And you see Great Britain there. They opted the last second to pull away and split the course with the Americans. But both of them, to Lisa's point, Stevie, very slow up there, and they've lost the wind.
Well, they have, but also to Lisa's point, the right turn at the top is the side of the course that she said she's seen more wind. That was the side of the course where USA and Great Britain actually made a gain. So a little bit surprising to see Emirates Great Britain turning the other way and choosing to do an extra manoeuvre. It means he did have some space, but he's now trapped by the Spanish. It was a lot of manoeuvres to do very quickly. New Zealand, they turn right as well. They look to follow the United States. That top of the screen, as we were just seeing then, where Spain have turned towards now, that's where Lisa's saying she's seeing more wind. So we can only assume that would be the more favoured side of the course. It'll be interesting for Great Britain whether or not they can hang on to third position from where they are now.
Impressive performance here by the French. We saw them in the top 3 in the last race, but they couldn't quite hold on to it. Well, they seem to have sorted out those gremlins and pushing hard to catch the Australians back up. That previous leg, we did see them 4 kilometres an hour slower on that upwind leg than the Australians. I think a lot of that has to do with the manoeuvres. The Aussies are just managing all of those turns a lot better.
Just don't make a lot of mistakes. Tom Slingsby and the Australians looking so clean and so smooth. We talked about the points. Remember, it's 10 points for a win, 1 point for last place. France finished in 8th in the first race, so if they can finish with a second, Stevie, that will be a huge salvage on the day. And of course, Australia finishing the 5th. If they can hold on for first, that's enormous.
Yeah, feels like a high-scoring event, this one, doesn't it? You can see if you get a good start, you can easily sail away and hang on to these positions. But if you don't get your start quite right, which is often a split-second decision, it doesn't matter how good you are, you've got a big job on to get back into the pack. As we can see at the moment, New Zealand stuck in that pack, and Switzerland, who had a great race 1, well, they're right at the back.
Add some rudders. Little dip. Careful ride height.
It's going to be very tight down here at this gate. Spain have got a nice turn left. Where did Great Britain go? Where did New Zealand go? Can they get round in front of the Danes? New Zealand look like they're going to go right turn. Great Britain, they're off the foils again. A lot of manoeuvres by this British crew at the moment. Doing a hard job to stay fast when you have. Oh my word! Oh wow! Did New Zealand give enough space to Denmark there? That was very tight. Denmark looked like they had rights to be on the inside, but maybe they dived in there too late.
Well, the big question, I guess, Stevie, for those people who maybe are new to sailing, and we've talked about this from your reporting and Lisa Darman and down on the water, the right side seems to have more wind. People might say, why don't they just stay on the right side of the course the whole time?
Well, that is a great question, Todd, and that's because our boats can't sail straight into the wind. That's why we see them kind of heading off in different directions here. They're sailing at an angle of about 45 degrees to the wind, and well, if you do a lot of manoeuvres, you'll fall off the foils and be very slow. So it's constantly a compromise. Do I want to do extra manoeuvres and hopefully be sailing fast in more wind, but I'm going to slow down every time I do a manoeuvre, or do I have to go to the wrong place at times?
Okay, here it is.
Tom Slingsby.
Yeah, we see Tom Slingsby there. He's talking about a lefty. So that means the wind has changed direction to the left. You can see they're sailing only parallel to the ladder lines. If he turns the boat now, he'll be nearly progressing straight up the parallel. Oh, but he's run out of wind. Poor manoeuvre on board the Australian boat there. They just dropped out of the breeze. Got a bit tricky at the end, but that's the advantage of having a several hundred-metre lead. There are no problems.
Big opportunity for the French team here, who are currently up on the foils. We can see here coming across. While they might not get them, they have closed that gap.
Close the gap. Australia has the right of way here, though. They've been entitled to room on that mark, but they're going to be going straight through to the finish now. So the French will follow them from here, and it should be good news for the Australians. They should be comfortably clear and in for a race win here.
Coming into the final gate, it's the Australians getting pressure from France right behind them. Fontaine Delapierre and his team doing a great job here in this second race on home waters, looking to salvage some points here with one more race still to go. But race number 2 here at the France Sail Grand Prix Saint-Tropez will belong to the Australians. The 3-time reigning and defending champions win race 2 in France.
finish for the fans there. There's a lot of them in the shoreline, as we can see, scattered the whole way along the Saint-Tropez shoreline. They'll love seeing the hometown favourites coming in, and look how close the finish line is to the Adrenaline Lounge and to all the fans on the shore in Saint-Tropez. Good viewing today, great breeze, and in fact this gusty, shifty breeze, it does make for overtaking opportunities, which is pretty exciting. As we look at the right-hand side of our screen, the USA are coming in on the left-hand side for a third, but Emirates Great Britain, that decision to do those extra manoeuvres, they've dropped all the way back to 8th, massive loss. And well, after picking their way through the fleet so well in the first race, struggled in this one, and third for the US, done the exact opposite of the British.
USA SailGP bounces back nicely from that first race 9th. They finish in 3rd in race number 2, and Spain will claim 4th. So Spain with a 6 and a 4, Stevie, not terrible for them.
No, very consistent. I think consistency is going to be pretty hard out here today. You can see 5th place Canada, they need that now. Denmark must keep clear. Really, really tight moment here. Denmark have got to keep clear. They've got to keep clear in New Zealand. He's going to try and force them up off the foils. Denmark did a good job of keeping clear, but that was aggressive from Burling, maximised the rules really well, and he is going to be able to finish ahead of the Danes from here, I would think, but both boats are off the foil. Can either of them get foiling, if anyone does? No, it's perfectly up on the foils for New Zealand, and they're going to bring it home there in 6th. Every point counts, and that was just in time for New Zealand.
So it's New Zealand getting 6th after winning the first race. Denmark will finish in 7th. The big winners, though, Australia in race number 2. Emirates GBR finishing off in 8th place. Steve, you go back just 2 legs, and they were battling for 3rd with the Americans, and they dropped back. Was that just a poor set of maneuvers, or just picked the wrong side of the course?
A little bit case in point to what you were asking me a minute ago, which I think I was possibly a bit wordy with, but they've chosen to do more maneuvers. They tried to stay where the more wind was, which should be a gain, but in doing so they did a lot of extra maneuvers, and the maneuvers were very, very costly. If you fall off the foils when you turn the boat, to re-accelerate, it's going to take a lot of time, and for me, Emirates Great Britain just did too many maneuvers in that situation, got too slow for too long, and they lost a lot of distance.
Really topsy-turvy, very much the parity here in France, because you look at teams like USA, Canada, and France, they finished in the top 5 in the second race, where they finished in the bottom 5. Team like Switzerland that finished in 4th in race number 1, they finished in 10th on race number 2, but the big winners in race number 2, the Australians, the 3-time reigning and defending champions. Tom Slingsby and company back in the winner's circle on race 2. Tom, well done for you and the team. Give us an idea what it's like out there. We're hearing terms like shifty and really unpredictable. How is the Med treating you guys today?
Yeah, I think if you're on the bow camera, I'm on the other side of the boat. But hey guys, turn off your comms, Milky. Yeah, it's really tough out here, I've got to say. It's, yeah, super shifty, patchy, like everyone keeps saying. But, yeah, we're glad that we got through it pretty well.
Okay, well, Tom, and maybe that race was perhaps a bit easy, if an easy race on a day like today is possible, but how important do you think it's going to be putting in a performance like you did in race 1, where you come charging back from back in the pack? How do you make that happen?
Sorry, I've got race committee comms going at the same time, but yeah, look, race 1 was lucky. You don't want to use all your lucky cards. I don't want to be in that situation again, being dead last by a couple of 100 metres. I put that down to luck getting back. Obviously, the team sailed well and we put ourselves in a position to catch a few boats, but it's not where we want to be. We want to be up the front. That race was 10 times easier than race 1, and when you got clear air.
All right, Tom, appreciate the time. Congratulations on the win. We'll see you guys in race number 3. So knowing that the wind may be dying down on Sunday, it's going to put a premium on race number 3, the 3rd and final race still to come here in Saint-Tropez.
So we had quite an eventful start for this race. We had the Spanish at the bottom of the line here, aiming for some clear space, but they got a little bit overexcited. Meanwhile, the French aimed for the other end of the line, which ended up in a lot of room because GBR held up this middle bunch. This meant the French had plenty of clear room and could hit the line at 53 kilometers an hour of boat speed. The Spanish and Germans were over, which was great news for the Aussies, who then had clear air to hit the line with speed.
Well, big moments in race 2, Stevie.
Yeah, well, then we see at Mark 1, Australia, well, they were in clear wind. He wasn't quite leading at Mark 1 on board the Australian boat, but they were in that front bunch. The right of leading went to the French, but they went a little bit too far, misjudged the angle into gate 2, and that mistake by De La Pierre opened the door for the Australians. And from this rounding at gate 2, where he got clear, we saw the comms come from Carl Langford. More wind this way, more wind towards the top of the screen. So no surprise to see Australia turn left. They sailed all the way to the boundary. And if you maximise the width of the pitch, effectively get right out to the boundary, it means you should be able to minimise your manoeuvres. And well, the team not quite minimising their manoeuvres out there today was Emirates Great Britain. They had to turn there because they weren't quite making the gate. But at this chance, I think they could have followed the USA. They chose to do one more manoeuvre, came back out this way, and whilst it looks good on paper at the moment, it was actually the USA who had taken that turn, and theirs was a third, and that split-second decision by Ainsley, instead of following the USA for maybe a fourth, dropped to 8th.
And the numbers tell the story perfectly. Look at Australia's average speed, 2 kilometers an hour faster than second place team France. Super impressive. But the French's flight time was higher, which suggests they are accelerating better out of maneuvers and getting back on the foils sooner. Our top 3 teams, the 3 teams with less maneuvers, which Lisa did hint to earlier, it's all about minimizing the maneuvers out there in these conditions.
Well, look at that, 14 manoeuvres for Emirates GBR, so pretty easy coaching point for them to be able to pick up to get the British up the fleet in the next race.
So after 2 races of 3 on day number 1, it looks like this. Australia out in front with a 5th and a 1st for 16 points. Then you've got New Zealand sitting in 2nd place. A tie now. Look at that logjam between France, Spain, Denmark, and Great Britain. And the USA sitting in 7th place on 10 points. What a day here in Saint-Tropez, but if all these numbers are a bit confusing, well, let's bring you up to speed on SailGP's scoring system and how the 10 international teams are scored across the season.
At the end of the season, the winning team will lift the SailGP Season 4 Championship trophy and claim their share of $5 million. But how does it all work? Our scoring system awards points for each race that teams compete in across a race event. The top 3 teams with the most points will face off at the event final. One final race in order to determine who takes the event title and battle it out for maximum points towards the season standings. 10 to the winner, 9 for 2nd, and 8 for 3rd. 4th to 10th place are awarded season points based on their position from only the fleet races. These points are crucial for the season-long championship leaderboard. The championship leaderboard is recalculated after each event, and the 3 highest-ranked teams at the end of the season qualify for the winner-take-all grand final.
So now you know, and the fans are anxiously awaiting that 3rd and final race today, Stevie. In talking to Tom Slingsby and looking at the scoreboard, this is going to be huge because we don't know what's going to anticipate. We don't know what's going to come tomorrow as far as the conditions go. So it could be a light wind day and things may be shortened down, but you better get your points on day 1.
Yeah, no, I mean, I sort of, Tom's very humble to say it was luck that he got back into it. I think what they did a good job is control of the controllables. If you are in the pack, then you've got to find space. You've got to try and be fast.
Well, for France, SailGP Team Season 4 has not been kind to them, but they found a new way of getting to this event in the south of France.
Le grand départ de Quentin Express. 3, 2, 1, go!
Ahead of the France Sail Grand Prix at Saint-Tropez, the French SailGP team and the Energy Observer Foundation joined forces to promote the Impact League and awareness for low-carbon mobility. Dubbed the Content Express, departing on the 6th of September, Content and the rest of the team journeyed from Barcelona through Nîmes, Marseille, and Saint-Maxime. Using only low-carbon mobility options, such as trains, bikes, hydrogen vehicles, and ultimately by boat. Content and the team successfully reached the pristine waters of Saint-Tropez, a global destination to take in the French Riviera and home to this weekend's Sail Grand Prix. So the French doing their part to limit their carbon footprint as they make their way to their home regatta here at the France Sail Grand Prix Saint-Tropez, event 3 of season 4. Quentin Delapierre leading that as he brought his crew here on a very smooth journey from Spain. So Quentin, we come down to you now, and I know you guys are looking to bounce back and have a big performance here. That second race was huge for you guys. Congratulations on the second. What do you have to do in race number 3 to get yourself back in the hunt for the overall title?
M'entendez?
Quentin, if you can hear us, we're just kind of figure out how you guys feel getting ready for this third and final race and what you have to do to get maximum points.
I think today we had some good feeling on the boat, and it's pretty shifty and patchy. So for the last race, we just have to keep the eyes out of the boat and win.
And Quentin, middle of the season, and to change one of the positions on the back 3, you changed your flight controller. We can see Jason Saunders sat in front of you. You know, that seems a big decision mid-season. Can you give us a little insight as to why that's happened?
That's what I said. We had a bad dynamic the last 4 or 5 months, and we were not really on the same page. So you have to make some tough decisions sometimes, and Jason Saunders was probably the best choice that we can pick.
Well, interesting, and I appreciate the candid response there. I think you've probably got some quite difficult decisions to make tactically in the next race, so good luck and thanks very much for joining us, Quentin.
Thanks.
Quentin Delapierre, we appreciate the time, and they will look to get maximum points here on race number 3 on home waters, as they have picked up not only an 8th in race number 1, but a 2nd in race number 2. Stevie, we've talked about this many a time. You can have one bad race, but usually if you're down 8, 9, and 10, you got to come back with some big wins, and he's going to need something along that line in race 3.
Absolutely, I think it's a huge thing, but I think what is different here, this light wind, shifty wind, we can see what a great camera angle that is. Firstly, shows quite how beautiful the Côte d'Azur is, but the wind's coming over that land. Emily showed us that. The wind's coming up or over the land, really gusty wind. It's just hard to be consistent, Emily.
It's really hard to predict, and you've also got to remember that most of the wind is at the top of these 29-meter wings. That's impossible for the strategist to see.
Welcome to the Oracle Los Angeles Sail Grand Prix Final.
We saw that to start on the pin, it was going to be very important. Our position with the ship was better, and for them to pop, they couldn't make the reach mark, and we could.
Spain is going so slow, and Denmark has found the speed.
We got stuck in a lull, and the other 2 boats were coming foiling with the next pressure. And we said, okay, let's see if they can catch us.
Denmark makes the turn.
All about the quality of this manoeuvre. Spain, they stuffed the bow in. They put the bow down too hard there.
Entering on, everyone up.
We have created this momentum, and we have built a strong team. That's the fact. We have a team that is now stable, which is one of the main priorities for us. And we've got the talent and the motivation. So from here on, the future can be ours.
Winning something is amazing, because it's very hard to do, but winning it with your people and seeing your people around you sharing that emotion with you, I think is the best feeling you can ever have.
Vamos, Spain, come on, what a job!
It was a very tough race, and that's what we are trying to encourage the whole team from the beginning. Fight until the end, and the results will come.
Spain is the winner of the Oracle Los Angeles Sail Grand Prix.
Now, after winning one event, it gives sense to all the work you put, no, and to everything you've gone through. Here we show that we can do it, but there's still a long way. But yeah, tonight we need to enjoy that feeling, and yeah, that's what we're gonna do.
Welcome back to France and the France Sail Grand Prix Saint-Tropez, event number 3 of season 4. Alongside Stevie Morrison, Emily Nagel, Lisa Darmanin, I'm Todd Harris. Glad to have you with us on a picture-perfect day here on the Mediterranean. Beautiful time to get something to eat, and I tell you what, it is high living here in the glamorous Saint-Tropez port. This is a beautiful place to be, and what a great place for the world's best sailors to compete on these beautiful, pristine waters of the Mediterranean. Well, we're getting set for race number 3, the third and final race of the day. Remember, there's 2 more races coming tomorrow before the event final, and that will feature just the top 3 points, and we will see how that all shakes down. Good time to get yourself a little bit of merchandise, grab our French flag, and get ready for the third and final race of the day as we take a look at the event leaderboard. Australia out on top, then it's New Zealand, and look at the big tie between France, Spain, Denmark, and Great Britain. USA still in the hunt in 7th on 10 points. The big story, though, Canada being hit with a 10-point deduction for causing collision damage, and that is the Canadians now sitting -1 point. Stevie, not a great way to start, and that pretty much takes them out of the running.
Yeah, I think they're going to really struggle from here. But of course, let's remember all of these season points happen. So still Canada have got a fight on their hands. But I think just the key for me, Australia and New Zealand, they've both won a race. Of course, that's very helpful. But when they've had a bad race, they've turned it into something salvageable with a mid-race finish. And I think that will define the finalists here. How do you convert a bad one into a good one?
All right, before we go racing, let's check in down on the water and Lisa Darmanin.
Well, Todd, the wind was supposed to peak around 3 p.m. local time, so that's about 30 minutes from now. We're seeing a lot more gusts on the course, but the light wind spots are still as light as ever, so the manoeuvres are really critical. The manoeuvres, it's about doing them when you're in pressure. So when they're going fast, when they're falling fast, before they run out of wind, that's when they've got to turn the boat. I can see the teams setting up for the race course, but we keep talking about reading these puffy conditions. And what I'm seeing from water level out here is you can see it, but because it's coming off the shore, it's really late. So you can't really predict it. You don't have as much time to think about it. When you see it, you've got to react fast. So it is easy to see once it's here, but it's very late, so it is tricky. I think we're going to have a really nice reach to Mark 1 here. The gusts are looking fantastic if we get a good puff on that start line.
All right, thank you, Lisa. As we come up under 2 minutes to go before the start of the third and final race, so you see the flags pretty much backing up what Lisa was talking about, and the Australians, winners of the last race, looking to make it 2 for 2 on these last 2 races of the day after a disappointing performance on race 1. But Tom Slingsby, that getting that 5th place, Stevie, was actually a great salvage job by him and his crew.
Yeah, I think it was, and I think we had a good camera angle on that helicopter a minute ago. What the sailors are trying to look for out there. You've got Tom Slingsby obviously driving the boat. Wing trimmer Carl Langford we heard from, but also I think it's a big day for Tash Bryan. It's her job to get her head out of the boat. Lisa mentioned the gusts and the lulls. For any of you that played Super Mario Kart at home and you get one of those speed boosts as you run over a rocket, that's a gust of wind. If you hit a banana skin, that's like running into a no-wind area and you're just going to slow down. Boats will pretty much stop, and that's effectively what the sailors are doing. They're trying to find all those gusts of wind that are going to give them the big speed boost, but right now it's about hitting that line in 1 minute's time.
Emily, you get the idea that Stevie played a lot of Super Mario Kart.
I do indeed, but it does make sense. And with the big differential between the gusts and lulls, that difference from getting one of your speed gains is going to be even, or banana peel is going to be even bigger.
That's right. Really tight here, Stevie. 40 seconds before the line goes white.
Yeah, there's not long to go to the start. We know the positioning right now is so crucial, even more so in these light winds. Those big 29-metre wings are blocking the wind, and New Zealand out the back of the fleet at the moment. They're going to be in less wind. I think they might struggle to make the line from there. They're a long way back, but they are foiling. Australia and Canada well positioned for our pole position. Mid-line is the favourite start to hit the line, but it's all about being on the foils and fast at that point. Emirates, Great Britain well positioned as well. 10 seconds to go to the start. Here we go, the crew's winded up, they've got the line in sight. Who's got their timing right as the line's about to turn white? Go, and we are clear start. Great start by Emirates, New Zealand. France and USA, can they make it happen? Sorry, Emirates, Great Britain out the bottom of the line. They look like they're going to have a fast inside line, but Emirates, can they hang on?
USA also in the mix as they approach mark number 1. The wind is up. The USA into the mark first, and they will control this race and get the whole shot with France right behind them.
Great start by Jimmy Spithill and a great start by Contant de la Pierre on board the French boat. They really converted that top of the line fast angle so well as we see the boats head away downwind.
Hold this lane here.
That's Ainsley talking to his strategist Hannah Mills here.
Should reload again in 2.
Just talking about the wind coming, a reload. That means we're going to get a bit more breeze, and we can see now the angle of the course has changed a bit. They're progressing right down these ladder lines by not turning at Mark 1. Big difference from the first 2 races, and that will favour the leaders even more.
This is almost a case of follow the leader. Look at this with the Americans out in front, France and Great Britain 1, 2, and 3 with the Australians the first to blink and bear away.
Yeah, well, they've turned the boat away, trying to make something happen, but are they well lined up for gate 2? Looks to me like the wind has rotated a bit to the bottom left-hand corner of our screen, which means that you would not be surprised to see some of the boats look to do a right turn and come back this way. But if you're the USA, I think you're going to be looking at going straight and keeping things pretty simple.
Looks like the Americans, as Stevie pointed out, are right on the line, that ley line into the gate, and it looks like they're going to make that left-hand turn and stay on that right side of the course.
Yeah, I think they just don't want to do a manoeuvre there for the USA. Of course, we can't quite see the wind they can see, but it was interesting that France and Emirates Great Britain were happy to come back this way, because this is the different favouring to the race before, but it feels like maybe the wind's turned to the left. Perhaps now would be a good time to go down and find out with Lisa. Have we had a wind shift on the course, Lisa?
Good. Let's get...
Yeah, it has definitely turned to the left. So when we started the race, it was the most right forecast. So now we can expect as it dies, it will slowly go more to the left. That's what we saw yesterday anyway, and we're seeing right now. But still really good pressure out on the left-hand side. I think that where the French are at the moment, they will be in a very strong position.
France sitting in second place, the US out in front. Emirates GBR showing in third place, but very even with the French, and then the Australians coming into view in fourth.
Crucial though, the French have done a manoeuvre and they're back on the foils, so they look as having a bit of a loss to the USA at the moment, but it could play out longer term.
And here's why. We can see that the USA on the top of our screen, they're in 19-20 kilometres an hour of wind, and so they've had a bit more boat speed. Currently it's dropped because of their manoeuvre, but the French and the British on the other side of the course have a little bit less wind, 17.
Really patchy out there, Todd, and we can see at the moment the USA, Jimmy Spithill, well, Saint-Tropez for the USA last year, and he seems to like it here.
So Spithill and the Americans trying to pick up a victory here after a disappointing first race where they got ninth. If they could finish off with a third and a first to wrap the day up, Stevie, they'll be in great position for tomorrow.
Look at how much the wind's changing direction, Todd. USA are nearly sailing straight up the course with the wind now coming from the top right of our screen. So they're really making fast progress up here, but the wind is changing direction all the time. And as we say that, look, Jimmy Spithill, he has to turn the boat away, not because of any other boats, but because the wind has changed its direction, and the French are forced to manoeuvre to keep out of the way of the Germans.
Entire French-speaking crew there for Contant de la Pierre.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear Kevin Pepier, the wing trimmer, talking about the target speed he wanted, and then we heard Contant say, Sampa is nice. Nice, Kevin. Thanks for the information. So the comms are clear. Whatever language they're in, it's all about clear comms.
Jimmy Spithill now with the Americans as they approach gate number 3 in the final race of the day.
Rockwool Denmark, they've done a nice job of getting out in front again, and it's about the battle in the pack. USA, well, we've seen every team that has led at gate 3 have managed to take away the win and bring it home.
Look at that for USA, 45 kilometres an hour average speed. Highest foiling percentage as well out of all the teams at almost 90%. And that's just going to allow them to stretch their legs even further and further cement this win. Hopefully.
Has there been another shift? That's the big question as they make the head back down the course. Lisa, what are you seeing?
It's really difficult out here. The wind is becoming very unstable. We're seeing different things on different sides of the courses. The boats are actually pointing in all different directions. We've got a big battle about to happen between New Zealand, Australia and Great Britain. It is all happening out here. Anything can can happen here.
Wind's really rotated to the side of the course that Australia are on at the moment, so Australia and New Zealand, it should be good news for them, but the New Zealand boat not foiling. Good opportunity for Slingsby here to get back in the race. Do the French boat get ahead? Yes, they do. I think for New Zealand and Australia, this is a crucial leg. They went into this race first and second, but look how tight that pack is. Anywhere from third to ninth is very easily achieved by any of those teams right now, but one thing's for sure, the boats that are on the foils are going to be a lot more relaxed than those boats behind, as New Zealand put in another manoeuvre in the pack. It's going to be tricky for them. They need to get foiling soon.
And the lead for the Americans now 400 meters over second place in Denmark. Meanwhile, the battle down at the bottom, as Stevie pointed out, a lot of positions to be shifted here, as the wind holding just over 15 kilometers an hour as we approach leg number 4. This will be gate 4 for the Americans. They are way out in front. This is a massive lead, Stevie. This might be the biggest lead they've had all year, going back to last year when their lead wasn't this big, but they won the overall.
Memory's not what it was, but I'm pretty sure they haven't won a race yet this season, so this would be a big moment for the US team. They need to get their wheels back on the campaign, as it were, and this is a good one for Jimmy Spithill. This is exactly where he did it last season in Saint-Tropez. Something in the water here that he seems to like, that's for sure, because they're sailing very smooth. But it just kind of as well goes to show the point. They can look pretty average when they're in the pack, as a lot of these teams do. All the teams, if you put them out in front, then they do a pretty nice job.
Look like rock stars, right?
Yeah.
Touch and go, touch and go, touch and go.
Jimmy Spithill calling for the touch and go.
Okay.
Well, that's going to be a bit of a messy tack. Just saved it. They managed to lower it into the water quite nicely, but here we go. Wind, look at this, top of our screen, Australia. They turn left under the Saint-Tropez shoreline. They've got barely any wind up there back to ninth. Right-hand side of our screen, New Zealand, they did the extra manoeuvre, but they found the extra wind, and it's wind that wins here in Saint-Tropez. And look at that, New Zealand up to 5th, Australia back to 9th. How pivotal will that last 2 minutes be?
Looking at that downwind leg for our leading teams, you can see just how much the USA stretched ahead. Almost 50 kilometers an hour average speed, while the Danish and GBL were down to 47. All teams doing one maneuver, but the British, look how far they sailed, only 1 kilometer, and that is a huge difference from 1.5, really showing that the breeze shift that they got massively shortened the distance there.
Quite a few maneuvers for Emirates GBR in race number 2. They put up 14 on the board, Stevie, so maybe they learned their lesson here, and they've obviously picked the right side, as Sir Ben Ainslie, one of the best in the business, has got his team in 3rd place. They finished in 2nd in race number 1 before falling back to 8th in race number 2, so this is a pivotal moment for them as well.
Yeah, huge moment.
I reckon just send it, mate.
Definitely, yeah.
Well said, Tom.
Keep it simple, Tom. That is a fair point. Yeah, I think, you know, the Danish, they are doing such a nice job here. We come on board, Nikolai Seherstedt. It sounds pretty calm, but they've gone out to that side of the course where the Kiwis made a big gain. The right-hand side of the course, we call it, and sailing top of our screen at the moment. And we see now it's changing all the time. There we go. Ben Ainslie discussing tactics. He's up to 3rd. Good comeback by the British crew here. Talking about having a cross. He's ahead of the French. Really shifty. You can see at one moment the crews are nearly sailing straight up our ladder lines. Here we go. Right of way, France. They've had a big shift in the wind. Emirates, Great Britain. Look, they've had to turn right out of their way. That was just a big wind change direction. Great Britain had to react, as we see. USA, Denmark, France are 1, 2, 3 at the moment. Up and foiling, but they're sailing nearly parallel to our ladder lines.
So Stevie, is this a case where the Americans are sailing better and the Danes have just found the better spot on the course, because it was a 400-meter lead, now down to 200-meter?
I think, to be honest, probably you just end up in a bit less wind. Sometimes you're going to have your time, if you like, and you're going to get wind or you're not going to get wind, as we see there. The Danish, look, the wind's just changed direction. Look at the wake off the back of the boat. They were sailing nearly up the ladder lines, they're now sailing nearly across the ladder lines. Part of that's to try and build speed before the manoeuvre, but a big part's the wind's changed direction. The wind changed direction, we're not making any progress to the gate. Let's turn the boat, and then we'll be aiming more towards the gate. It's all about the time you take to get between gates, minimising that. You do that by either going faster or by doing less distance.
Hey, taking off. This is course here.
So through the last gate, it is Jimmy Spithill and USA SailGP. A much-needed victory for the Americans. It was a year ago when they won the overall here in Saint-Tropez. And in race number 3, Spithill and company will take the victory on the Mediterranean.
Wow, Some big action here, as we can see now. Denmark well positioned for second, but New Zealand, they were last off the start line. They're currently showing as fifth, but I think it's going to be tight at the top here between Great Britain, France, and if it does get tight and they get into a fight, don't be surprised to see New Zealand back in this race. Denmark, good, solid, consistent day out there, though.
Yeah, but you guys are just doing nothing. You're just doing nothing out there. Nice work, boys. Nice one, Hans.
That's a bit of feedback from Tom Johnson. All he does all day is ease that big wing sail out while the big grinders on the front make it happen for him. But here we go, France, they have the right of way. They have to do whatever they want here. They've got to turn right eventually, but if he can get close to Great Britain, don't be expect to see him try and push him off the course. Does Ainsley think he's clear ahead? He obviously does. He's carrying on. The French have to turn. Emirates GBR, no problem, says Ainsley, and he's round the front. A good third position for them. Good result for the French, and that's some comeback by Emirates New Zealand. How important that's going to be, as I said, I think it's all about how do you turn your bad ones into decent ones.
Perfect judgment, as Ben Ainsley and Hannah Mills predict that perfectly. They had the distance to get around, and it is Emirates GBR that gets third place. France will hold on for fourth place after finishing second in race number 2. So now, get out your advocates and start counting. Day number 1 points. We'll tabulate them quickly. So what a finish for France, in the mix yet again, and it'll be the Kiwis that'll hold on for 5th. So it's a 1, 6, and a 5 for Peter Burling after winning that first race.
There we go, already the debrief taking place on board New Zealand there. Pete Seno was a bit late, and then when they were behind everyone, they were stuck in the pack. But good result here for the Germans, going to bring it home in 6th. Nice job. They've had a solid day. It's going to be so interesting to look at these results. It's been so up and down there. I think it's going to be really tight. And we look forward to seeing what we're left with.
Remember, Germany, first year in the SailGP full season, and Spain will come in right behind them in 7th place to back up the 4th they got in race number 2 and the 6th in race number 1, the winners of the last event in Los Angeles. Now, the battle is on for the bottom, and Stevie, these points are huge. 8th is way better than 9th and 10th, and right now Australia's trying to salvage things, but Canada's trying to ruin the party.
Yeah, I mean, the Canadians, well, they've got the right of way here, and it's probably more important, these points, for Australia than Canada at this stage of things, because the Australians need to get anything they can. This is potentially an 8th place here. Phil Robertson, again, he's giving a little bit of feedback to the umpires the whole time, saying he had to avoid the collision. Not sure about that one, I've got to be honest with you. But anyway, the Australians, they could really do with getting home in 8th, because they've had a bit of a decent day with the comeback and a race win, but this one, it's going to hurt them on the scoreboard, that's for sure.
Yeah, it'll be a 5, 1, and an 8 for Tom Slingsby, and a rough day with those 8 collision points docked to Canada and Phil Robertson after that incident with Spain.
I just think it's one of those things in sport, Todd, isn't it? I mean, the rules are the rules, but everyone can interpret the rules and see the one situation slightly differently. I mean, it was a tight call that the umpires made. Phil's clearly going to see it very differently to how Craig Mitchell and his team saw it, and probably how the Spanish saw it. Everyone sees it differently, but the rules are the rules. And yeah, tough day for them. Tough day for the Swiss though, as well.
Started off with a 4th in the first race, and the Swiss end up with 2 last place performances. So 1 point apiece for those, 10 points for the win, 1 for last. So the Swiss have plenty of debriefing to do here in Saint-Tropez.
Here we go, the start was obviously, we can see crucial, and it was France, USA and GBR that have had the space. They've got space and they're on that front row with 13 seconds to go. That's generally speaking a pretty good position to be in, because you can pick your angle. But the boats closer to the bottom here, France and USA, they will have a faster angle from here to Mark 1. So despite the 3 boats having a very similar start, it was the faster angle from here for the USA and France that got them to Mark 1 in the lead.
And that is shown in the numbers from the race as well. We saw the USA made it to Mark 1, they had clear air, and they held that average speed all the way through the race, getting to 43.6 kilometers an hour average speed. You'll notice that it's actually New Zealand who sailed the shortest distance, and Denmark. They were sailing the shifts more than pressure, so they've got slower average speeds but did sail a shorter distance, which got them further up that leaderboard. But still, less manoeuvres was the biggest gain.
Well, the name of the game is consistency, and it is hard to be consistent when the conditions are like this. It is puffy, it is shifty. No one knows that better than Jimmy Spithill. He is the driver of USA SailGP. Jimmy, good to have you with us again, my friend. You start off with a 9th. You guys bounce back nicely in race number 2 with a 3rd, and then you win race number 3. This sets you up nicely for day number 2. And again, you know what it's like. You don't know what to expect on Championship Sunday.
Yeah, that's right, Todd. I mean, look, it was pretty frustrating race 1. I just didn't get off the line well, and then just made a couple of bad tactical decisions during that race, and we just sort of never were able to get on the passing lanes. But again, a good sign of strength for the team to bounce back in the 2nd race and then the 3rd race to get the win. It's been a little bit of time between drinks on getting a race win, so that's a great boost.
What is it about these French waters, Jimmy, that you and your crew seem to excel in? You guys just feel at home here in the Mediterranean.
Well, Todd, super yachts, supercars, supermodels, what's not to like, mate?
Jimmy, I thought it was the rosé. Yeah, what happened yesterday? The practice, you guys perhaps needed a bit of a wash-off to find your form. Is that what happened yesterday, pre-racing?
Yeah, we had one basically. So yeah, I'll put my hand up for that. We were just trying to do a down-speed barroway and up near the breakwater, and you couldn't really see the wind on the water that well, and yeah, just my mistake.
Jimmy, what are you thinking about tomorrow, and what have you seen as far as the forecast going? Is it going to be a day where the 29 wing is going to stay up there, you drop down to 4, or do you think it's going to be similar conditions?
I'm not sure. I mean, the forecast seems to change right until the morning of race day. So, look, I think it's just a great sign. We've had good breeze yesterday and today, and look, fingers crossed we can get the boats on the foils for the Super Sunday.
All right, cheers, Jimmy. Appreciate the time again, and we wish you the best of luck tomorrow on Super Sunday. Remember, 2 more fleet races, and then it is on to the event final where only the top 3 teams will compete. Remember, last year the Americans won it, and this was the moment. We just saw this just a short moment ago, and it is a complete and utter disaster for Emirates.
Wow.
For the New Zealand team right now. It looks like everyone's accounted for. There's Peter Burling assessing the damage, and Stevie, that is the operative word, damage.
Well, I mean, that's disaster. I don't know about damage. We don't know quite what's happened, but I mean, this is another one of those potentially season-defining moments. I mean, look at that. There is no way that wing is going back together very quickly. I mean, it's great to hear everyone's okay, but I mean, who knows what's happened out there? Pete Burling, he looks like he's not entirely sure what's happened out there. You can see him standing, helmet off. Blair Toot put his helmet back on, and I mean, I think they'd probably be right near the top of the leaderboard after the first day. In fact, I think they are joint first as we stand, but there's no way they're sailing with that wing tomorrow, so absolutely disastrous for them.
All right, we will have to get more information and video to see what happened with the New Zealand team while the race finished, and they had an absolute mechanical disaster there as this fell apart completely. All right, so we'll take a deep breath and we'll reassess everything as we take a look at the highlights from a great day of racing here on what we thought, Stevie, might be low wind, but it showed up for us.
Yeah, well, it was a low wind day, but it still didn't stop those Australians from getting the Rolex best start time, 0.012 of a second. But they weren't quite at full speed when the gun went, so the best start, they didn't quite convert. That'll be something for them to work on. And we saw here, it was space was the name of the game out there on the water today, really. If you're in the lead, it was easy to get space, but if you're in the pack, how you managed to find space was absolutely crucial out there. And well, saw again the next start, it was all about good timing. A few boats were over early, but again, accuracy and space. Australia did a nice job of this in race 2, and once you're out in front, it's amazing how good you can look from.
The Aussies looked absolutely the spot. Perfect, Stevie. As you talk about, they rarely make mistakes, unforced errors when they have this lead.
Well, they do. They've got good manoeuvres and they're pretty clinical. And I think for the French, encouraging first day overall. New flight controller on board, and by the 3rd race, they converted that into a very good start. But it just showed 2 teams that had perhaps struggled through the day, stick them out in front, give them a bit of space. USA sailed away to a comfortable win, and the French, well, they were in the pack, but they managed to just about salvage a decent result out of it and kept themselves in there. So it is devil's in the detail on a day like today, but if you get it right, it looks pretty good.
So congratulations, Jimmy Spithill, USA SailGP. They win the 3rd and final race on the day. And look at this leaderboard. Atop, it's Denmark and New Zealand tied on 21, and the Americans and Great Britain tied on 2nd with 20. with France and Australia knocking on the door. So let's go down on the water once more before we say goodbye. Nikolaj Sehested and Rockwell, Denmark. Nikolaj, you guys find yourself in the enviable position of being on top, looking at day number 2, Championship Sunday. What is the plan, and what are you seeing for the forecast for wind tomorrow?
Sorry, I have a bit of bad connection, but I assume you ask how we feel and looking for tomorrow. It's yeah, it was a frustrating day, to be honest, but I think it was for most teams. It was really tricky out here and shifty, and yeah, it wasn't easy to get the shift right. So it doesn't feel as good as it might look on the scoreboard, but that's something we can have for tomorrow. And I think yeah, forecast for tomorrow is pretty similar conditions, I think. So yeah, tricky, light, shifty again tomorrow. So a bit more we had today.
All right, appreciate Nikolaj. We wish you the best of luck tomorrow on Championship Sunday. Nikolaj Sehested and Rockwell, Denmark, doing very well out on the Mediterranean today as they put themselves in a great position for tomorrow. And we look forward to getting more information on what happened with New Zealand. We check in now on the water, and Lisa Darmanin.
Well, I'm right beside the New Zealand boat right now, and it's actually just devastating to see that wing, but the team seems to have done a great job to salvage everything they can. They've got the tech team, all the sailors, they've put the wing back on the boat, and they're towing in right now. We've got the other wing, the other parts of the wing that's still intact getting towed in, so absolutely gutting way for them. They finished the race, they jived over it, and then just had a big issue, and it fell out of the sky.
Lisa, what precipitated the whole? Was there a sequence of events? Did they catch a big gust? Can you explain what happened, and did you see it take place?
I was quite far away when it was happening. I'm sure that we can talk to the sailors once we get to shore, but it is, as I said, getting gusty out here. They are quite big wings. We don't really know what happened, but the wing basically folded whilst they were sailing. So we'll have to talk to the sailors, and lucky it seems like they're all standing up and fixing what they can out here.
All right, thank you very much, Lisa. That'll wrap things up for day number 1, and what a dramatic way to end day number 1 of the France Sail Grand Prix Saint-Tropez. And we are all set for Championship Sunday. So for Stevie Morrison, Emily Nagel, and Lisa Darmanin down on the water, I'm Todd Harris. We will see you tomorrow from Saint-Tropez.
Saint-Tropez. Did nothing there to even consider moving out of the way.
New Zealand that wins race number 1. Wow. New Zealand giving up space. The Australians win race 2 in France.
I reckon just send it, mate.
A much-needed victory for the Americans. Located on the Mediterranean Sea, Saint-Tropez has long been the desired destination of the famous, glamorous, and infamous. Today, this French seaside port plays host to the world's best sailors. Welcome to the France Sail Grand Prix Saint-Tropez. Championship Sunday has arrived with plenty of storylines and drama after an exciting first day of racing. Saint-Tropez welcomes the 10 international teams to Europe after the first 2 opening events of Season 4 on North American waters. Today, this iconic racing venue will crown an event champion and offer more clarity as to which team is a threat to claim the championship at the end of the season. Alongside past world champion Emily Nagel and Olympian Stevie Morrison, I'm Todd Harris. After 3 fleet races yesterday, there are 2 additional races today before the event final at the end of the day, in which only the top 3 teams on points will race. Before we go racing, let's recap day 1.
Who can get on the foils first as we blast to Mark 1? Australia just kept himself behind the line, but New Zealand out the middle of the line.
To Canada, their 3rd penalty of this race.
Doesn't even move.
New Zealand just in time. They had just enough speed to get over the top.
It is New Zealand that wins race number 1 here at the France Sail Grand Prix Day 1, Saint-Tropez.
Early start penalty, Spain and Germany. No delayed starters.
Oh my word, wow. New Zealand giving up space to Denmark.
But race number 2 here at the France Sail Grand Prix Saint-Tropez will belong to the Australians. The 3-time reigning the defending champions win race 2 in France.
Love seeing the hometown favourites coming in. Look how close the finish line is to the... Go! And we are clear start.
Jimmy Spithill now with the Americans as they approach gate number 3 in the final race of the day.
The French are forced to manoeuvre to keep out of the way of the Germans.
A much-needed victory for the American. And in race number 3, Spithill and Company will take the victory on the Mediterranean. So after the first day of racing, the leaderboard for this event has Denmark and New Zealand tied on 21 points. The USA and Emirates GB are even on 20, and France and Australia tied at 19. Remember, only the top 3 on points will advance to the event final later today. It was after yesterday's racing when the added drama set in, severely affecting today's lineup.
Look at that, there is no way that wing is going back together very quickly.
We finished the last race. As a group, we're obviously pretty happy because we managed to claw a fair few boats back from where we were at the first mark, and we decided, because it's such a beautiful breeze, to go for a little sail down the course. We're just actually rounding up the stop out on the port boundary next to a couple of our friends and a lot of partners for the team on a boat, and then the whole wing snapped in half. So yeah, I think we were just incredibly lucky. Everyone was on the starboard side of the yacht, and the main element cleared us, and the middle element went straight backwards. So I think right now we're just incredibly thankful everyone's safe.
Biggest issue probably is this bottom flap, which is actually quite structural, and then we've still got half of the wing out at sea at the moment and getting brought back in by the salvage team, so have to assess that. That looks to have just cleared the boat, so hopefully there's not so much damage up there. Obviously the section that broke itself, that's a write-off, so yeah, I mean, hugely gutting, but we have to try and regroup and figure out a way to get back in the race for Taranto, I reckon.
So it is official and unfortunate. New Zealand will not be able to sail today despite being tied for first place. So we've got 2 races, 4 and 5, both fleet races before the event final where only the top 3 will compete. Right now, let's take a look at the course map.
Well, the course here in Saint-Tropez, as always, requires a fast start to lead at Mark 1. After the first turn, the boats can sail their own course, trying to find the shortest time between gates. At each gate, they can turn left or right. Remember, sailing boats only go at fast when they're sailing at an angle to the wind, so we see them zigzagging around the course to give themselves tactical advantage. It's a gusty, shifty wind here in Saint-Tropez, so sailing the shortest course and trying to stay on the foils is going to be the ticket to finishing first under the fans on the shoreline here in Saint-Tropez.
So the crowds continue to make their way on land and sea to watch Championship Sunday go down here at the France Sail Grand Prix Saint-Tropez, event number 3 of season 4. This is one of the highly anticipated events when they come to Europe. Stevie, everyone wants to be in Saint-Tropez on Championship Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, that camera shot there showed us, didn't it? It's beautiful conditions.
So here we go.
Yeah, on board the Swiss boat here, Todd, and you can see it's a big day required for that team, I'd have said here, really. So let's see what they can do.
Full speed racing tack out of this, okay? Going forward. Keep it on the
Final
foil,
45 seconds before the start of race number 4. 2 fleet races and then the event final.
Well, the positioning's pretty important now. They've got the smaller 24-metre wings here, but they've been sailing around well. It's just going to be this takeoff phase that's the really tricky bit with these wings. Comms are high at this point, well positioned. They're all quite a long way back, trying to give themselves a good run up. Left-hand side of the screen is our start line. The blue triangle there suggesting the favoured position. Australia looks pretty good for that. All the teams are long, long way back here. They're winding it up. Australia look well positioned. Canada at the top of the line and Great Britain. But how is the timing looking? I think they're late. The Australians look good, well positioned, expect the line to turn white, and we'll be go on day 2 here in Saint-Tropez. Brilliant start out the middle of the line for Canada, Australia and Great Britain on the inside. I think are going to be able to hold on to that inside line and should lead us away around Mark 1.
Denmark and Switzerland out the back, but it is the Canadians, the Australians and Great Britain as they make their way to mark number 1. This is race 4 on Championship Sunday here in Saint-Tropez.
Absolutely crucial moment into Mark 1. Can Canada get clear ahead? They've done it. They've managed to convert that start. They're round the British. Brilliant work by Phil Robertson and his crew there. And now they're setting up for gate 2. Nice lead for the Canadians.
Still happy days there, you want it, mate?
A little more breathing room than yesterday. Remember, New Zealand not out on the water after that incident. Their boat unable to go, so it is Canada out in front. Great Britain, Australia, Spain, the USA, Germany, and France, with Denmark and Switzerland out the back.
And here we've got the live speeds for all the top 3 teams, Canada, GBR and Australia. 50 kilometres an hour of boat speed. That's equal to miles per hour and knots below.
Here we go, crucial stage in the race, and we've heard a bit of onboard there. Annie, the strategist at the back of the Canadian boat, talking about being happy with a left turn. So she wants to come to gate 2, turn left. She'll be trying to find more wind on the racecourse and minimise the manoeuvres. They're nicely laid up here, and when you're out in front, the comms can generally be a little bit calmer.
Darling here, yeah. Come up a little bit.
Voice of Chris Draper, the wing trimmer there, talking about the setup of the boat, and then Phil Robertson is chatting tactics. So they're going to turn left at this mark. GBR, they've converted that good start, hanging on to second, and we're going to start to learn about the course. A lot of the crew seem pretty keen to head out with a left turn to what we'd call the right-hand side of the course as they make their way into the wind.
Canada the first through, gate number 2. Emirates, GBR in second, Spain right behind them. Australia decides to split the course. Germany goes the way of the Spanish.
Yesterday we saw that Mark 1 position was critical for a good overall finishing result. So that's really good news for Canada and GBR.
On board with Australia there. The French also opting for that side, and Jimmy Spithill in a great position right now. Not on this race, but he is sitting in the tie for second overall, as they sit in 7th. So points at a premium. Really, with Canada being out front, Stevie, this kind of changes the dynamics because they really don't have a chance to get into the final after that 8-point deduction.
Yeah, I think they can't make it points-wise, but for Great Britain, they need a good day. Denmark and USA, they're 7th and 8th at the moment, but they were well up overnight, so they're going to have to start to move their way through the fleet. Nice manoeuvre. They turn the boat through the wind on board Great Britain there. Great manoeuvre, and they're showing us in the lead. These ladder lines on our course here show how far the boats have progressed up the course. But Canada, here they go. They're winding the speed up. They were first to be on the foils, and they're looking pretty fast.
And just a reminder on the bottom left here of our race to the final. Currently, with these positions, this would see GBR take that lead spot, Australia and the Danish as well. But the Spanish are just on the edge of qualifying, so any points they can gain here are critical.
A lot of points on the line, and as we see now, Canada, they're already talking about the next move. When they turn their boat, the British will have the right of way. Tricky situation for Canada here. When they turn back, the British are going to be a problem for them. How well can they execute this turn?
Canada makes the turn. Here comes Spain and Emirates GBR.
Both of those boats have the right of way, so it's all about judging this cross.
No slower than that.
Chris Draper, he sounded calm. He was pretty happy they've made it. Great Britain decided to turn first. Now, Canada, well lined up for gate 3. Can Ainsley and the British crew make this right turn? If they can make it round the right turn, they will be leading, but they're tight. They're close to the position. They've had to put it down. They're going to be slower than Canada, but I think they'll hold the inside position.
Are you surprised that Ben Ainsley didn't hold that line a little longer and maybe make it difficult for Canada?
I think he just knew that if he'd made it difficult for Canada, Canada would have shot round behind them and been so much faster that he had to try and position his boat in front. So it was good positioning by Ainsley. Decided to sail a little slower, but less distance.
How about Denmark? They were mired in 9th and 10th place over those first 2 legs, and here they are now moving up into 4th place.
And it's the story of the weekend, really. Sehersted's doing a great job of sailing that boat fast around the course and overtaking boats. It's been the story. If you're at the back of the pack, can you work your way through the fleet? And this top of the course, Todd, up under the fans in Saint-Tropez, there's a lot less wind. Canada, they choose to turn early and they've fallen off the foils. They're really slow. Canada are actually going left to right on our screen, but you can see the Germans in 5th have nearly caught them up. Rush decision by Robertson could have cost them some places.
So Phil Robertson making his way back down the course in 4th place.
Have a look at that, Todd. Look, that's a 200-metre gain for Ainsley. Top of our screen on Great Britain. Bottom of our screen, Canada. They went round together, but a huge loss for Canada.
And here we've got the wind speeds across the course. Currently, the British have the most breeze on the top of the screen, 17 to 20 kilometres an hour of pressure, while the Canadians have slightly less. Part of the reason why we saw them struggle to get back up on the foils after their incident at the top gate.
This would be a huge win for Great Britain because they got a 2nd in race number 1, really fell back, got an 8th in race number 2, and then finished off the day with a 3rd in race number 3 yesterday.
Here we go, Canada turn the boat. 2nd time they've turned on this downwind leg. They've lost a lot of distance. Looks to me like Spain are well past them. Certainly our leaderboard suggesting Canada all the way back in fourth. They are, look at that, Denmark are up to third. Brilliant work for the Danish, and expect Great Britain to set up for a left turn and head back to that side of the course where they made their game before. Here they go, one last turn, and then they'll be heading up into the wind.
So at gate number 4, Sir Ben Ainslie and Emirates GBR decide to go to that more favored side of the course. They have the lead. In second place, the winners of the last event in Los Angeles. Spain looking very good in second. Denmark looking fast. And here come the Canadians. Look at the speed.
Now, Canada dropping back was a huge gain for the Spanish team, as that currently gives them enough points to pip ahead of Australia into the final. Obviously, another race to come after this. This is big news for the Spanish team.
Yeah, Stevie, I can't remember the last time we didn't have Australia in the event final.
Well, Australia or New Zealand, of course. I mean, it's potentially a big shake-up for the season here. And we can see now the Danish, they choose to turn away. Australia back in the picture, but he's going to need a good result. I think at this stage, it's worth mentioning why the boat's heading off in different directions. Well, they've got to zigzag their way up the wind. That's the boat won't go straight into the wind.
Just try and make the Spanish life hard when we can.
Hannah, there you go. Hannah, the strategist. She's thinking about the overall points there. She'll have the results in her mind, and she'll know that the Spanish are a threat for that final. They're the boat behind, so they make it hard. How do you make it hard? You try and block the wind to your boat behind you, because if you can give them disturbed, turbulent air, it's impossible to go as fast.
Two-time Olympic gold medalist Hannah Mills, the strategist for Emirates GBR.
Pressure on the nose as well as inside.
Constantly feeding information to Ainslie.
When she's talking about pressure, she's not talking about the pressure they feel from the boats behind. She's talking about the wind and where you can find more wind.
And this is interesting here. This is the Mark 1 team now position. Now, obviously, we expected GBR to do well. They had a good start, still in the lead. But look at the Danish. They were in 8th at Mark 1 and have moved all the way up to 4th. That's just shown how well they've sailed in this race. Head out of the boat and really looking for the puffs.
Here we go. So they're just talking about the setup here, Todd. We're really nearly at the top of this final upwind leg. There's not a lot of manoeuvres left for the British, potentially just one more turn through the wind. And they're sailing this boat very fast today. It's been a disappointing start to season 4. We had the youngster Diego Portin winning in Los Angeles with the Spanish crew, and potentially some of the, let's say, more experienced crews, such as Sir Ben Ainslie. He starts to look like he needs a result.
It's great.
Nice maneuver there. The wind seems to be holding up. There you see the speed, green. They're at the perfect speed for foiling. It has to be over 30. They've come down just a little bit. And here comes Spain, hot on their heels.
Just back on the foils. Have they judged it right? Can they make it down to this gate without turning again?
Lifting is a touch now.
We've got no issue boats.
So Hannah Mills letting Ben Ainslie know no issues with any boats. They've got clear sailing. The epitome of it is they approach gate number 5, and it looks like Emirates GBR is going to make it to the finish line and pick up a victory.
Nice positioning there. They've done a good job of minimising the manoeuvres. They've always turned that boat really tight for making these upwind gates, but they've got round, and now they turn. It's just a little sprint to the finish.
Constantly vigilant as they make their way in front of the Adrenaline Lounge. Race number 1 on Championship Sunday goes the way of Emirates GBR.
Fans on the shore. There are plenty of fans watching, plenty of happy fans seeing that. Now Spain up in second place. They need a good finish here. Canada and Denmark are tight. Canada have the right of way there, but if Spain can get round that mark, which I think they can, they've fallen off the foils, but I think they're going to have enough lead to hang on to this second place. Looks calm on board the Spanish boat, and this could really put them in good stead to make the final.
And Canada totally playing the spoiler right now, as they really don't have an opportunity to make it after those 8 points deducted yesterday with the collision with the Spanish. Canada's going to take points away from Denmark.
Denmark and Australia, crucially, and in 9th place, the USA. They were in a final position before this race, but also Phil and the crew. Don't forget, they're racing hard for season points. If they can claw back a few places, even if they only get out of this event in 7th, it will mean all the season points that they can get are crucial.
But I'm just so hit out, I don't watch it.
So Nikolai Sehested and Denmark.
My mind was in boundaries from yesterday. Yeah, exactly. Oh, like, that was what? I was so close going out there with that mark.
There you go, just talking about the race course and how tight they are to get in and around this course there. They're trying to learn the course in this first race. They should understand the day a lot better for Tom Slingsby coming across the line there in 5th. Well, it's another, if we're honest, slightly average one. However, he will know he's right in the hunt. And of course, got to remember, Todd, all you've got to do is make that final 3, and you've got every shot of winning the event.
We've seen Tom Slingsby and the Australians come from behind before. Now the battle for 6th place. Look at the Germans coming on at full speed on the foils. The Swiss are going to try to inch this thing to the line, and this is going to be close. Switzerland, do they have enough steam to get across the line before the Germans that are charging hard? And it does look like they'll just cross it. Seb Schneider and Nathan Outridge get it done. They've claimed 6. Germany holds on for 7.
Good comeback. Sorry about the start. Should have caught taking it, sorry.
It was interesting there, Nathan, talking about the start. A lot of the boats did look late on that start. Their timing was off, and talking about timing being off France and USA, they need big results, and this is big result in the wrong sense.
And the USA holding on. Looks like they're going to have the speed to pass France in front of their home fans here, and they're going to pick up that extra point. So 8 may make a difference if they can get a big finish on the final race. So the Americans race in 8. France holds on for 9th, or dead last, because New Zealand not racing today, damaged boat yesterday.
Wow, I can't wait to see these results.
Yeah.
I've got a funny feeling that there could be like 6 or 7 teams with every chance of making it to the final. So this is going to be some race. Pressure of the day could well be on Emily Nagal, looking after the results and trying to keep on top of the abacus to let us know where we're at.
All right, let's go down onto the water. This time we join Emirates GBR and their tactician, Hannah Mills, the 2-time gold medalist. We like to refer to her as the Welsh Goat, but she gets things done for Ben Ainsley and team. Hannah, if you can hear us, congratulations. Great way to start Championship Sunday. Give us an idea of the conditions. We've heard terms like puffy and shifty. How was it for you guys today?
Yeah, it's definitely puffy and shifty, you know, really tricky racing. You know, it's hard to stay on the foils all the time through the manoeuvres, so yeah, it's super challenging for everyone.
And Ben, we saw you, all the boats were a little bit late for the start. Has it been hard to adjust to these smaller wings out there today?
Yeah, I think it is different. I mean, we're lucky with this breeze coming in. It wasn't really forecast, but yeah, probably still downrange on this AP wing. And a bit of a light spot as well in that pre-start, so not a huge surprise to see a few people late. Like Hannah said, it's tricky when the wind's up and down so much. Getting it right is far from easy, as you can see.
Hannah, quick question for you before we let you go. How much do you look at the numbers and making life difficult for other people, like the Spanish, and knowing what you have to do to get in that top 3?
Yeah, we'll definitely take a look at the numbers now. I mean, you've got to be aware of what you've got to do in the last race to make the top 3. So yeah, we're about to check it out.
All right, appreciate your time, Emirates GBR, Sir Ben Ainsley, and Hannah Mills. Spend a little bit of their time to talk with us and give us the breakdown on that first race. Race number 4 of Championship Sunday goes the way of the Brits.
And a throwback here to the start that set up it all for the British team. So Australia highlighted they're heading towards that prime pole position. By going up that little bit on the line, they opened the gap for GBR. Now, while they weren't at the optimum position, they did have the opportunity to have a bit more space and come in with speed. Up at the top of the line, you do have the Spanish, who are quite far back at the line, 44 metres away. But the fastest boat, they managed to get some good speed and end up with a good result.
Well, and that played out, of course, slightly faster angle for Canada into Mark 1, and they did a brilliant job of maximising the advantage of that. They slingshot round the outside of the British, but the story of the day for the British really was they did a fantastic job of minimising distance that they sailed. Canada here, they came all the way to our yellow ley line. Ainsley saw the opportunity, though. He turned well before, probably saved himself about 100 metres on the Canadians there, leapfrogged them into the lead, and once you give Ben Ainsley the lead, well, you can perhaps try and force things, which Canada did, but that normally ends up badly for you. He fell off the foils, slowed down, and it was Great Britain that sailed away for the win. And let's look forward to that next race.
One more fleet race to go before the event final, and this is how it shook down. Emirates GBR gets the victory and the 10 points. Spain picks up 9. Canada really not in contention for the event final. They pick up 8, taking a point away from Rockwell. Denmark, who finished in 4th. Australia, Switzerland, Germany really scratching their heads how that happened. And the USA may have just shot themselves in the foot. Beautiful day here in Saint-Tropez. It is day number 2, Championship Sunday here at the France Sail Grand Prix. This is the 3rd event of Season 4. Everyone's scrambling to get maximum points. One more race still to go on the Med. we want to take you back to day one, race one. Spain and Canada with a very tight incident out on the course.
Oh, there's a bit of action top left-hand side of screen. Spain look like they turned right in front of the Canadians.
Umpire, he did nothing there to even consider moving out of the way.
And they received 8 penalty points for the event. This is not going to sit well with Phil Robertson and the Canadian crew.
Yeah, unfortunately we lost a lot of points. They don't want these boats touching, and neither do we, and we had a little love tap, as it's famously called.
We got around the left gate at the top and we're kind of alone. Today was a super puffy and shifty day.
Yeah, a bit of an interesting one, actually. We're obviously on starboard and foiling towards him, and he was on port.
We went into the jibe. Next boat was quite far away. In this case was Canada.
Yeah, from my opinion, he didn't even bother to try and turn out of the way. He just pinned it straight, and I was always expecting him to start turning and the gap would have opened up.
And yeah, they bore away with a big gas, high speed. We also didn't do a good jibe there. We were H1. I guess they lost control. They wanted to give us a penalty somehow, but they lost control of the boat. Their boat slided and they slided into us. So
we made the mistake of just turning a bit late and slid a little and slid into the side of them. So an error on our part, but yeah, again, I'm still a little bit puzzled as to why we were penalised so heavily.
Yeah, that's what happened there.
Well, and as you can imagine, it was quite a controversial decision, but it's been reviewed again overnight. The umpires have looked really closely at this, and ultimately it's come down to the Spanish boat was in the position where it had to give way. However, Canada alters his course late on towards Spain, removing any opportunity for the Spanish boat to keep clear. That means the penalty points go to Canada, and hopefully they'll get back in the racing today.
Event 3 of Season 4, this is the France Sail Grand Prix Saint-Tropez. There you see the event leaderboard as it stands right now. A little bit of confusion there. New Zealand boat damage yesterday after, so they already accumulated 21 points, Stevie, so they're not in last, but they cannot accumulate any more points. GBR leads the way with 30. Denmark and Spain coming up in second and third. And if you're wondering what happened, this is what happened out on the water. We can report that everyone was safe and accounted for, but an absolute disaster for the Kiwis as they ended day number 1 in a tie for first place, but officially they cannot race today.
It's incredibly disappointing we're not able to get out there today. Yeah, I think from us as a team, obviously the most important thing that is that everyone's safe. We obviously had a huge structural failure on one design piece of equipment that was due to absolutely no fault of anyone within this group. So yeah, I think the league's got to go back and have a really deep dive into what exactly happened, what exactly caused that, and also as a group we're feeling really gutted that there aren't enough spares on site to be able to put the boat back together and get it back on the start line for today. So yeah, it feels like an incredible bit of bad luck, but also some massive disappointment in the fact that we and the SailGP League can't get us back out there on the start line today. I'm sure there's going to be a pretty thorough review going into exactly what's happened. From our point of view, the wing had passed all its checks before we went sailing, so there was nothing out of the normal, and we didn't notice anything out of the ordinary during the whole day. And when it actually failed was when I would think it would be quite unloaded at that time. So it must have been something that was building up during the day, and we're obviously incredibly thankful no one was hurt. Probably incredibly thankful we were a long way away from any other boats when it happened as well, because if it was, say, going down the first reach, it could have been a lot different.
At this stage we're really under a full investigation. I mean, we don't have any conclusions yet, but because of that we're not using the 29-metre wings today. The great news is that no one's hurt. The wings have been salvaged, everything recovered from the water, and now it's really about getting New Zealand back and racing for Taranto.
Best news is that everyone, as Stevie pointed out, is okay, but again, That forces the entire fleet to go to the smaller 24-meter wings. And the investigation will continue, and hopefully we'll get the Kiwis back in time for the next event in Toronto. We're 2 minutes and 20 seconds away from the next race. We now sit it down on the water, and the fourth member of our team, Olympic silver medalist Lisa Darmanin.
Well, we can expect more of the same for race number 5. It is super gusty out here. We've been talking about shifts, but for me, it's all about pressure. It's about finding those pockets of pressure around the course. And if you fall in a hole, you can lose 5 or 6 places. So those strategists have a big job on their cards today. If anything, the wind has picked up slightly. The lulls are still big, but the gusts are bigger. We're seeing maybe 24 km/h puffs. So we should be in store for a fantastic, another reaching start here in Saint-Tropez.
And Lisa, I've got to ask you about the massive gains. We saw that in race number 4 with Denmark picking it up. Is that just luck of the draw, or can you anticipate those massive gains and where they might be coming from your reporting?
You can certainly anticipate it, especially at that first turning gate, because you're away from the shore and you can see it coming. So it really is like a conveyor belt. If you get on that, it can shoot you up the course. So big rewards out here for the teams that are getting it right.
All right, thank you very much, Lisa. Down on the water, we'll come back to you in a moment as the race gets started in 1:10. And there you see, that is the battle. Top 3 moving on to the event final. Australia on a tie with Spain, but Australia would lose out on the tiebreakers as it stands right now. So 10 points for a win, 1 point for last place. And now everyone, Stevie, into the start box. And this is the most critical race so far. They're all critical, but this is the one for teams like the USA, teams that are on the bubble or close to it, and then the teams that are in the top 2. They got to hold on to that position.
Yeah, I mean, Emirates GBR, they're in a good position here, but we wouldn't be at all surprised to see a little bit of tussle between Australia and Spain. They're well separated at the moment. We can see that pole position is the place to be, the blue triangle on the left-hand side of our screen there. But I think anywhere up the line is quite good. Australia and Great Britain are tight together. Denmark have been sailing well, and Spain look well lined up for a good start here. It's now about timing and how fast can you hit the line. Here go Canada. They turn the boat aggressively. Phil Robertson spinning the boat around on the Canadian boat here as they look to come in fast at the line. USA look a bit late to me, but he's coming with a late run. Can the USA time this right? 5 seconds to go to the start. Denmark and Australia out the middle of the line. Emirates Great Britain are back. It's now a fast sprint here. What timing from Jimmy Spittle on board USA, but can he hang on? He's got a slower angle to Mark 1 for here. It's just straight line sailing across the breeze, and Rottwell Denmark, there they go. They speed her up and they're looking to roll over the top.
Here we go, mark number 1, the final fleet race of the day, and it is Denmark that holds on to that pole position. The USA tucks into second place with Australia off the right.
USA pull it out when they need to. Australia crucially are ahead of Spain, but at the moment Emirates Great Britain's got some work to do. They're in the pack. These points are going to be tight, so the next few manoeuvres into gate 2 are crucial as Denmark, they've stretched away and they set things up nicely. First to turn towards gate 2, and we know the crews are going to want to try and simplify this and get themselves straight round with a left turn.
We're going to get more breeze. Happy with left turn? Happy.
So nice that the breeze and Mother Nature cooperated today. A penalty, it looks like a boundary penalty for Australia. That can be huge. They'll have to drop back just a little bit, but what a start for Jimmy Spittle and USA SailGP when they needed it most.
They really did need it, Tom.
That's heady. All right, I'm going to settle it down here a little bit in my comms. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, settle it down a bit. That's probably a good mode. Now you're out in front, you've got a bit of space. Let's get that tempo down and start sailing the boat smooth and fast, which they've done a great job of all weekend. But it's tight in the pack. USA look like they're going to be able to get round left turn, but Australia first to move away. He's looking for space on the race course.
And it's all going off in this race to the final. Currently, as it stands, the Danish, British and Aussies would be going through. But the USA is only 1 point behind Australia, so if they could get ahead here, or if Australia lose a place.
Right now, Lee, I got to imagine, Emily, that the USA is big fans of Spain, and they would love to see Diego Botín overtake Tom Slingsby and knock them back a point.
Early stages of the race, we can see boats starting to get very slow at gate 2. It's going to be halfway up this upwind leg that we'll get a better feel of the course here. What Tom Slingsby on board Australia has done well is find some space. He's in clear wind, but as we see our ladder lines on the course here, we can see that on the top of our screen, the right-hand side of our race course, Denmark, nearly 200 metres further progressed up the course, and a bit of a gain for them.
So before we have our first crossing here on leg number 3 and race number 5, let's go down on the water. Lisa Darmanin, man and look into your crystal ball. Whose position do you like best with the conditions that you're seeing down there?
Just get into it.
Denmark have picked this perfectly. They've been bold all weekend, and we know that right side is working, so they're looking really strong. But the battle is between Spain and Australia. Australia are not giving them any space because they know what is at stake here.
Nice and easy.
And the Australians, right on cue, overtake the Americans to that second position. So that's going to make life difficult for Jimmy Spithill and USA SailGP as they drop back to third, desperately in need of points. They're going to need to get past Denmark and Australia, and then have Spain maybe help them out as well.
Sorry, I went some headed.
Really tight here. What I noticed there was Great Britain have done a nice job of finding some space. They've moved up to fifth, which will be good news for them as we're on board Australia here. Tight moment in the pre-start there. That was a big aggressive luff from the British, but Slingsby responded quick enough, got away. No love lost there. Here we are on board the front of the British boat. We can see now Australia must keep clear.
Right, flag that. Yep, flag that. Dangerous, Australia, penalty.
Pretty clear instructions from Ben Ainsley to the umpires there as to what he thought was happening, or should be happening more like. But now look at this, the wind has got a little bit light on the top of our screen. Australia, they've closed right up behind Denmark, but the USA, they do not have the right of way in this situation, but they're coming in fast and have made some gains. Britain, they look slow. There's not a lot of wind where Great Britain are at the moment. It's definitely light up under the fans on the shoreline.
Gate number 3 in the final fleet race, and then the top 3 are going on to the event final. Australia, they opt for that right-hand side where they just came from. Denmark goes to the other side. It looks like Spain. What are they going to do? They're going to follow the Americans, or they're going to follow the Danes? They're going to follow the Danes.
As Elise has been saying, this decision up here is crucial. These next few seconds, whether or not you find wind, could be so important. And Eric Heil on board the German boat, he looks set to play spoiler as he's closed up on the British, still behind them, but could well end up with a split at the top of the course. It's going to be about who finds more wind, and at the moment, Sehested, bottom right-hand corner of our screen, the Danish boat turns, but they're moving away nicely.
You go all the way back, Stevie, to practice day on Friday. The Danes have just looked so consistent.
And just shown right here, race to the final, Danish still leading the charge. Australia and GBR tied on points in second and third. And Spanish dropping a little bit further back. They're going to be pushing hard here to close that gap and hopefully gain a point.
Well, the Spanish, Stevie, might not make the final, but this is a good follow-up from their win in Los Angeles. It wasn't just a fluke.
They've said well all season. They're second overall in the season standing as we talk, and they've put together a brilliant performance. Very young, talented team. They've got a lot of work to do here. They're probably relying on a mistake from the British to have any hope. Big dip behind there by Rottwell, Denmark, and they've got to watch out for Jimmy Spithill now. Denmark don't have the right of way. That's a tight moment in the race there. Really tight moment. Now, Spain, they need to overtake those 2 boats in front of them, and they're going to be an awful lot closer than they were. Nervous times for Ben Ainsley on board Great Britain, but he's stalking the Spanish boat at the moment, chasing them down.
And once again, Tom Slingsby in Australia pulling an absolute Houdini after the last race, looking terrible, finishing at 5th again, and he somehow is finding his way, Emily, into that top 3.
We've seen the Australians sailing well all week. Yesterday, we saw them as one of the fastest boats on the upwind legs. They're also one of the best at manoeuvring. Same with the Danish. They're both gaining a lot of distance in these manoeuvres, while other teams less so.
Not sure you get his heart rate up until he's properly nervous before these last couple of races. Anyway, he's not at operating temperature, Todd.
And while we talk about the Australians and how they find a way to get to the front, Spain looking good, Emirates GBR looking good, Denmark's been consistent, Stevie. I hate to do it, but France on their home waters, they have just looked awesome.
Yeah, well, we talked about the big thing in that position swap. You know, they're back in 9th. They swapped one of their back 3, which I think both the boats that have swapped their back 3, you know, the driver, the flight controller, or the wind trimmer, Switzerland and France, they're both struggling in these tricky, gusty conditions, and it is a huge change to make.
Well, the Americans, as they've moved past on that position, they pick up a spot into 3rd now, so they're 2 points out of making the top 3. All this depends on really 3 boats. What Spain, Denmark, and the USA could pull off here on this final upwind leg.
It's really tight at the moment. The Spanish have done a fantastic job of getting their way through here, up into 2nd place at the moment. Denmark, slightly worrying for them ahead of a final, a probable final, is the fact they've dropped from 1st back to 5th. you'd kind of expect the leading boat historically is stretched away. Denmark won't be happy that they've got themselves caught up in the middle of the pack again. As we can see, Emirates Great Britain showing in third at the moment. They'll like what they see if that happens. But right now, they've got to watch out for the boats coming back from the top of our screen. They have the right of way, but the ladder lines suggest that Great Britain are further up the course. Nice gains for Spain, nice gains for Great Britain at the moment. Aggressive from Australia, look at that, he turns his boat directly on top of the wind for Spain and Australia, trying to block the wind to them, trying to slow them down, but ultimately trying to stay in the same patch of water as his rivals, as we see Great Britain have to dip behind Jimmy Spittle's USA.
So the Americans still in the fight, holding down third right now. It's Australia and Spain leading the way. Great Britain has moved into fourth. They look to be safe after that tremendous performance on the first race of the day where they got the win. Hannah Mills tell us, make life a little more difficult for Spain. They've crunched the numbers, Stevie. They knew exactly what they needed in this last race.
Yeah, she definitely will. Oh, the Spanish backhand side of our screen there. We just did a poor turn, fell off the foils. That could be a big moment for them. They've got to accelerate that Spanish boat. They're up over 30. Should be foiling.
Yeah, I think we go with them. Okay, so we're watching them. We're on a match.
On a match, that means they just want to try and stay directly on the wind, directly in front of the Spanish and slow them up. But the battle here is for Denmark.
Exactly, Stevie. Right now, with Spain in second and Denmark in fifth, that would actually see the Spanish leapfrog and end up into the final. So all the pressure right now is on the Danish overtaking.
There we go. See, bottom left-hand corner there. Spain and Denmark 34, but it's important to remember that whoever finishes ahead of whoever in the last race will win a tie-break. So Denmark, this could be disaster if they can't make one more game. They've sailed so well all weekend, so well at the beginning of this race, but just one slight slip, one slightly slow leg, and they're now under a lot of pressure.
3, 2, 1. Okay, rudder's coming off.
It looks like Tom Slingsby has done enough. Remember yesterday, they won race number 2. They backed it up with an 8th in race number 3, so they've been up and down all over the table this weekend. But when it counted most, race number 5, the 3-time reigning and defending champions, the Aussies, come to race 5 in Saint-Tropez and pick up a win.
It could be crucial. We just saw the USA had lost a few positions. I think Denmark are through. They could even jump ahead of the British here. Denmark has the right of way at the mark. He can slow the British up if he wants to. He's going to try and make it hard here. What does the Danish need to do? I think he just needs to finish fourth. He's taking him. Here we go. He's pushing the British off. Not enough though. Ainsley keeps the boat flowing. Ainsley's boat will foil first. Emirates Great Britain from here. They should be able to get up on the foils and lead in third place. But it's tight to the finish. And Denmark, oh my word, if Germany can get Denmark, that could be crucial for Denmark.
That could be it.
That could have been a huge mistake by the Danish to try and hunt the British. I think if they'd finished fourth, it would have been enough.
Emirates GBR with just enough speed as they cross the line in third place, and it is Germany that grabs fourth place.
As the spoiler as well, and a fourth Denmark. That's disaster. I think. I didn't do great at school. I think that's enough to me.
Might lose another point.
Spain are going to be on the tie break, and at the last mark, Denmark. Oh no, this is disastrous.
Yeah,
this is so painful for the Danish fans.
And this place is hard to sail at.
Understatement of the day. This place is hard to sail at as Denmark was locked into the top 3, and they just dropped anchor on the final leg to fall out of the top 3.
I don't think he had to try and hunt the British. Fourth was enough though, Todd. They did not crunch the numbers well enough. Disaster for Denmark.
Set it down.
So Canada comes across the line in 8. This will be a definitely forgettable event for them after the 8-point deduction with a collision with Spain. France having to retire mid-race. Stevie, this has just been the worst for them after so much momentum coming into the season. Anticipation, they make the change at flight controller. It did not work out.
Well, it doesn't seem to have worked very well at all, to be perfectly honest with you. They've been down on performance yesterday. We saw some real high moments. They were fast downwind, so it's not all negative. But ultimately, the scoreboard doesn't lie, so they're going to be pretty disappointed right now.
So the fleet races are complete here on Championship Sunday, and the top 3 are moving on to the event final. Let's reveal who's going on. It will be Emirates, Great Britain. What a great second day, a first and a third. Australia somehow finds a way again to get themselves into the top 3. And then it's Spain just barely edging out the Danes by 1 point. Back-to-back second places puts the Gallos into the final. Well, we go down on the water. Nikolai Sehested. Nikolai, you guys had such a great first day, and you started things off well on day number 2, finishing 4th in race number 4. That had to be frustrating watching that final leg play out the way it did.
Yeah, very painful. We didn't sail well here in the last race. We just sailed our way through the fleet, so yeah, painful, but sailed good enough, so that's the way it is.
And Nikolai, feels pretty harsh to ask you now, but you know, what are the priorities on that course? You have sailed a great weekend here, obviously disappointed, but looking ahead to the final, what do you think is the priority for it?
Oh, it's all about just being in phase with the shifts, and yeah, we got a bit out of phase here in the last race, and a little bit caught up in other boats. So if you can avoid other boats, which is easy in the final, and it's just about being in phase with the breeze. It's a big ride is coming, so you need to get to them.
Nikolai, in your mind, when you came to that last gate and you saw the finish line and you saw Emirates GBR coming in, did you feel like you needed to be ahead of them to get that extra point to get into the final, or were you just more concerned about positioning?
I think we needed to be ahead of them, so that's why we went pretty hard after them. Yeah.
All right, Nikolai, we appreciate your time. Great showing by Rockwell, Denmark, and we will see you in Italy. Well, a tough break for Rockwell, Denmark. SailGP, Stevie, they had it, then they lost it, then they got it back. But when it came down to the final leg, Denmark comes up just a point short of making it in to the event final. But they were consistent all weekend long here at the France Sail Grand Prix in Saint-Tropez.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was a tough one for Denmark, but it came down to such fine details. And Australia, they know how to put it out the back when it matters. They were so tight, but it came down to a very, very good manoeuvre at the top of the course. Traditionally less wind in that top of our screen there under the shoreline. But Australia, well, they still managed to get the boat foiling quickly, and it was that kind of detail that mattered. They pulled themselves from a position in the pack to the lead, and well, we've seen it season after season that if you give the Australians clear wind, if you give them a lead, they will just sail away. And I think that's going to be the takeaway for Denmark from this event, because they did have the lead, but they couldn't hold on to it. And well, dejection for Denmark, elation for Australia.
A nice look here now at the numbers. It's really interesting looking at the 2 different modes sailed by our lead boats. The Aussies sailed at the fastest, 48 kilometers an hour, versus the Spanish's slightly slower speed. But the Aussies sailed a lot more distance and did 12 maneuvers compared to Spain's 9. Now, yesterday we saw that less maneuvers was the key to winning, but today it wasn't so. It was a lot more about staying up on the foils as much as possible and sailing to the right area of the course, even if that meant an extra maneuver.
Well, it's always about the details, isn't it? And you know, if you do them well, if you do the manoeuvres well, they don't hurt you as much. And in this pre-start, it was tight again, but the timing of the fleet back was a lot better. But it was that bunch in the middle that had the drama. Denmark, Australia and Great Britain. Well, it was Denmark that won the fight here, did a fantastic job with their positioning. USA did come through on a charge late. Jimmy Spithill put all his money on red, timed it well, but it was Denmark won the start. They just couldn't convert that into the result they needed for the rest of the race.
So 5 fleet races up, 5 results down, and they were all over the board. You had Australia winning, Great Britain winning, USA winning, New Zealand winning, but it was the Aussies that picked up 2 victories out of 5, and they have punched their ticket into the final alongside of Emirates GBR and Spain. Well, Stevie, Emily, we've seen it before. Just when you think Tom Slingsby and his crew just aren't having a good one, it's going to maybe not make the event final, take this one off, they find a way to get in. Somehow they find a way to get in.
They do, and I love this camera angle here because you can see the dark little patches of wind moving down the course. They're the gusts we're talking about. Mainly in that middle part of our screen, we can see some darker patches of wind, and that's opportunity, Todd. So for someone like Tom Slingsby, even if he is in the patch, he knows he can find a gust of wind, find space, get himself back in the race.
Well, beautiful day here in Saint-Tropez as we bring a close to this event, and it has been special. Coming into this, a lot of people thought there wouldn't be enough wind. Not the case. Mother Nature delivered in this beautiful part of the world, an iconic sailing venue.
Welcome to the Oracle Los Angeles Sail Grand Prix. The superstars of the sport are here, and with them, the glamour of sports business elite.
There's been a lot of movement and interest in terms of buying equal positions in the teams. I can say we've got similar discussions going on in other parts of the world.
If it goes to full length, then it'll be all mic'd up here, but yeah.
I expect that we will very soon only have 3 teams left that will be still owned by the league.
This is what every team out there wants. They want to be privately owned so that they've got money to pay their athletes and basically run their own program, buy more training days, and essentially money can make you more competitive.
Jimmy, how much pressure is there on you guys for a home event, and there's 4 of them this season?
Yeah, I think it's kind of ironic that we've struggled to get a decent result on the tour at US events.
It's a good start from Team USA, Switzerland, and Spain. The 3 teams that finished last in Season 3 now going head-to-head, flat out towards Mark 1.
We just got the Spanish, so got 1 boat to leeward.
It's our intention to press over the fleet, but the Spanish were there just below us, and we didn't quite have the ability to roll them before the mark.
They go through periods where they're very competitive and then other times where they are struggling for performance. But the brand continues to exist, and that's really what we set out to do with SailGP.
And unfortunately, the home team don't have enough points to qualify.
We're still making some little mistakes in real critical times, you know.
This has been the goal. Get the US team funded, underwritten. I mean, that's the goal for every single team in SailGP, is to be profitable. And I believe that'll probably happen this season.
Championship Sunday here in Saint-Tropez. This is the France Sail Grand Prix. Todd Harris, Stevie Morrison, Emily Nagel, and Lisa Darmanin with you as we bring the curtain down on the France Sail Grand Prix. What a day of racing. Only the event final left to be contested. Beautiful conditions on the Mediterranean for the final day of the France Sail Grand Prix in Saint-Tropez. It will be Emirates, GBR, Australia, and Spain battling it out. Emily, who would have thought? I mean, surprisingly, Emirates, GBR, not so much. Australia, not so much. But Spain making it 2 for 2 on making event finals.
I think it's incredible. You know, Spain clearly have some momentum behind them. They're on a roll. They're coming into this final now as, you know, defending event champion up against season champion versus the greatest Olympic sailors of all time. So I think we're set for a pretty epic final.
It was no fluke in Los Angeles, Stevie. You've talked about this team is young, they are hungry, they are ready to go.
Well, yeah, and we talk about a surprise. To be honest, my biggest surprise almost is Great Britain. They've not, Emirates GBR haven't been in the final for a long time. We started to question, has Ben Ainsley still got it? If that's something that you can actually say in public, which I think I've just done. But, you know, he's, you know, they haven't performed, the British. So actually, this could be the rebirth of this Emirates Great Britain. I'd say the biggest pressure is on them. They need to win this final more than the other 2 teams. Pressure on Ainsley and Mills and co here, but as you mentioned, they've done it plenty of times in their career and they'll be looking forward to it. They're sailing very well today. Can they sail very well in this final?
Well, we're hearing the conditions will be very similar to what we just saw, so a quick debrief for those three teams, and then they will be back on the water battling it out. This will be for the event championship, winning the France Sail Grand Prix here in Saint-Tropez, and the points that go along with it for the overall season championship. So it's three heavy hitters ready to do battle on the Mediterranean. The newcomer, Diego Botín, not a lot of numbers to the right side of his resume, Stevie, but he was thrown into this one because the team and everyone involved with Spain and SailGP pretty confident in his abilities.
Well, and we've seen on a world stage he can perform. He's performed in SailGP. He's going to be happy to go again.
So Spain in the event final for the second event in a row. Tom Slingsby, Emily, he's won it all. He's seen it all. He's been there.
Exactly. He knows what he's doing when it comes to a final, and we know a lot of teams are a bit nervous going up against him because when he's got space, he's quick.
And it's amazing, Stevie, that the Emirates GBR boat gets around the course the way it does with all the hardware from the Olympics that they have on board between, what, the 7 or 8 medals between Ben Ainsley and Hannah Mills.
Yeah, and they arrived on SailGP with a bang, didn't they? They came in and they won straight off the bat, but it's a long time between meals for Ben Ainsley. And he's looked pretty hungry out there today, so I'm sure they're going to be very, very keen to get a performance. As I say, this team, I believe, needs to win this event the most. They've got to show everyone else they're still there, still fighting, and still amongst the best.
So now just moments away from the event final here as Spain once again is in the event final. And they are just going through final preparations before they will get themselves into position in the start box. We're able to go on board now with Diego Botín, the driver for Spain SailGP. Diego, congratulations. Well done. Again, second event in a row. You're in the event final. What did you learn in Los Angeles that you can carry over here in Saint-Tropez?
Thank you very much. Yeah, we are super pumped to be in another final. We are trying to see what's important to do now. The conditions are very different to LA, and yeah, now it's completely boiling, and yeah, we'll give our best and see what happens.
Diego, you seem to find some extra speed in that second race today. It looked like you'd found maybe a slightly faster setting for the boat. What's the secret?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't know. I don't think we are faster. I think the Aussies have very good technique, but we got a very good path on the after right bottom turn on the second upwind, and yeah, we got quite nice gains there.
Diego, be honest with me now. If we take you back to day one, race number one, when you had that slight little get-together with Canada, did you ever think you guys would be in the final racing against Great Britain and Australia?
Yeah, I mean, after yesterday we knew we had chances, but to be super honest, yeah, another quite unexpected one. So yeah, super pumped, and we're gonna try to take the chance.
And a lot of these final races, Diego, we've seen how important it is to be first at Mark 1. Do you think that is the most important thing today, or is it a little bit different with these gusty conditions?
Yeah, I think being first in Mark 1 is very important, but I also think that with these gusty conditions, anything can happen. Yeah, big losses and big gains can be made. So yeah, we need to. It's not gonna end until the finish. So yeah, full focus until the end.
Thanks, Diego. Well, go and get yourself ready. We look forward to seeing you racing. Good luck, mate.
So Diego Botín, the driver for Spain SailGP, into the final for the second event in a row. Can they make it 2 for 2? And that would really put the pressure on the rest of the fleet, Stevie. And, you know, we didn't question that win in Los Angeles, but we were wondering if they could back it up, and they've answered that question.
More than answered it. They're sailing very well, and I think, you know, we've seen all season they've been performing well. That win was a huge monkey off their back. And yeah, now it's another chance to lay down a real marker here, and it's really that whole battle of age against, age and experience against youth and enthusiasm. So it's going to be fantastic to see how it does play out, because with Australia and Great Britain in the final, it's not going to be an easy one.
The heavy hitters and Spain ready to do battle on the Mediterranean. The three-time reigning and defending champions, Australia. They are set and once again in familiar waters in an event final. Tom Slingsby and company. Tom, you've had some up and down results this weekend in France. A couple that you usually aren't used to being at the bottom of the table and mixing a few fives, but when the time came, you guys delivered on that last race. Did you know it was going to come down to race number 5, that you'd have to be in that top 2 or 3 position to get into the final?
Yeah, we did know it was going to come down to that final race, just how close the points were after the 3 races yesterday. The top 6 were separated by 2 points, so we knew that the last race was going to be really important. Yeah, the guys did an amazing job. We had plenty on. It was high fever, but everyone performed and executed really well, so I'm really proud of the group.
Yeah, it was a good performance, a good comeback in that race again. And Diego said he thinks you're the fastest boat out there. So do you feel this environment of the final should suit you more than that fleet racing situation?
Very, very kind of Diego, but honestly, it is so patchy out here. Yeah, look, you get a gust and you just get ripping, and when you find the holes, the amount of times I've been stuck up in a hole at the top mark at this venue is unbelievable. I think I've got the record for that. So, look, when we're in breeze and going well, we're confident. We feel we back ourselves. But that top mark is danger zone. It's got danger written all over it, and even if you've got a nice lead, getting out of there is not simple. So, yeah, keep your eyes on that spot.
Hey, Tom, we got to ask you before we cut you loose after this one, the difference between going from the 29-meter wing yesterday and then you make the drastic change to the 24 in almost identical conditions.
Yeah, the 24-meter wing is a lot nicer. I understand why they go the 29-meter wing, because it guarantees us sort of plenty of power if the wind does die out. But we've got great breeze here, and the 24-meter wing is a lot nicer to sail. Boats are ripping, manoeuvres are a bit easier. And, yeah, we're in the right configuration for this race course.
All right, Tom, appreciate your time. Once again, good luck to you in the event final. That's Australia's Tom Slingsby, the 3-time reigning and defending champions. They are set to go and try to pick up more points, as they are currently the overall leaders after 2 events by 1 point clear of Spain and Rockwell, Denmark, sitting in 2nd place. We'll still go back on the water, and Lisa Darmanin for her report before we get to that event final.
Well, Ben, congratulations for making the final. What is going to be key of this shifty final race?
Well, as always, the start's going to be massive. If you can get out ahead and then read this breeze, like you said, it's shifting around a lot. So you saw the previous 2 races, it's a little bit of a game of snakes and ladders, but the team are doing a good job sailing the boat nicely. So we'll, first thing, try and get to that start line in good shape.
Can you protect the other boats, or is it about sailing your own race and the pressure you see?
It gets harder. The shifter it gets like this, it's really hard to control another boat. Sometimes you just end up losing more distance and sailing your own race and working the shifts. So we'll just have to figure that out. Hannah's doing a great job helping on the strategy tools, and we'll just keep more of the same.
You had a good first start, rough second start. What's going to be the key this one?
Well, the lineup, we had a bad lineup in that second start. We got a bit rushed where we were with some of the other boats. We like to have a bit more space. So, of course, that'll be easier with 3 boats, but trying to figure out what the wind's going to be doing coming off that line. Do you want to be the leeward, or do you want to be that's a tough one to make. It'll be one that happens in the last minute.
We better let you get into it. Thanks for your time.
Okay, cheers.
Thanks.
Boat team, Tom Slingsby, Ben Ainsley for giving us that time. Where else do you get to talk to the drivers right before the event final, down on the water, hands on the wheel as they get set to go racing? It was fantastic. When we go back down on the water, Lisa Darmanin, give us your pre-race report, what you're seeing and what do you anticipate?
Like that. Dangerous, Australia, penalty.
Well, we're seeing a very similar thing to last race. It's super gusty out here. There's lots of danger zones. So even though a boat might be out in front, we know that they are not safe. But it is getting pretty gusty out here, and I'm lucky enough to be joined now by wing trimmer Blair Tuke. Blair, I know you'd be rather sailing than sitting here with me, but what do you think we've got in store for this final?
Yeah, this is certainly a pretty tough perspective for me to view the racing from. But like you say, the wind's really patchy. It's actually just pulsing right now as we see it. So, yeah, boats are on the right configuration. I really think it's going to be the team that gets off the start line fastest with, when it comes down to a 3-boat final, you really want to be the team that's going the fastest right at the gun and then leading to Mark 1. And from there, just trying to stay in the pressure. It's so up and down, as you hear the skippers say just before, so it's that team that manages it from there on in.
And lining up for that start, is it a lot easier than a general fleet start because there's just way more space?
Quite a long way left.
Yeah, I think it is. Some teams suit it better. Our starting technique last season really lent towards that, and you'll see some of these teams might go for more of a run-up, some might come for a little bit more conventional, but there's definitely less boats to manage, so it's just more on the time and distance for that boat on the start line.
We'll hand it back to the guys to take us through and see who does that run-up start.
Yeah, look forward to it.
All right, thank you, Lisa. We'll get set now as we come up on 90 seconds to go before the start of the race. First, we've got Spain. Emily, they are talented indeed.
Yeah, we've got a really young, talented team. We've got the same lineup as we did in LA. That's Diego, Yol, Florian, Nicole, Young, and Bernardo. So a really strong team, all young and super enthusiastic.
And how about the
Australia's
Aussies,
going
Stevie?
very low, eh? Well, I think if you've watched SailGP, you know the crew on this boat. This is probably, you know, one of the most well-known and experienced crews on the boat. I think big pressure on Tash Bryant to have her head out of the boat, and big pressure on the wing trimmer, Carl Langford. I mean, Blair didn't allude to it, but I think that how well you trim the wing through these changeable conditions is also a hard job today.
And of course, Emirates GBR looking for that big win here, Stevie. They have got so much experience, so much talent on this boat. You got to think eventually it's all going to click and they're going to just drive away.
Yeah, they're definitely sailing a lot better here today, and I think, again, Hannah Mills at the back of the boat. I can't help thinking those strategists have got a big job on to help the drivers see where the breeze is as we see 40 seconds to go and they're already in position. Ainsley talking about, did he want to be down the line nearer the bottom of our screen or up the line where you're going to have a faster angle? At the moment, Ainsley has a pretty good controlling position on Emirates Great Britain. That's a lot of water on the boat there with 27 seconds to go. He's defending against the ruse. Slingsby pushing. Emirates Great Britain defending, and it's going to be Spain with the clear runner. Australia very aggressive from Slingsby here. He's going to look to park the British boat. As soon as those boats overlap, if they do, the British will have to keep clear. It's really, really tight. Has Ainsley timed it right? The Australians can't hook them. Ainsley looks early back to the line here. It's aggressive match racing. Watch for the line to turn. White. Oh, that was so tight on the gun, and the Spanish are late. The Spanish late at the top of the line will have a faster angle. Looks like a clear start, and Slingsby's aggression's paid for him. The British are going to struggle to get over the top from here. At Mark 1, it should be the Ruse in first place.
Well, they couldn't get the hook in, but at mark number 1, it is Australia that has the whole shot position. What a maneuver by Tom Slingsby as he pushes the Brits to the outside. Here comes Spain back in the mix.
Yeah, nice little move from the Australians there. He turned the British up a bit closer to the wind. That's brought the Spanish back into the race, but first decision goes to Great Britain. They spin away. He thinks he's seen win first. Spain try to follow. Everyone moving very quickly, trying to react to the changeable wind conditions.
Hold. Let speed come.
Currently seeing the highest speeds of any race so far this weekend. GBR doing over 60 kilometers an hour downwind here. Spanish closing the gap now from behind 65s. It's going to be a tight race.
I don't know about how many manoeuvres can they do into the gate. Australia look pretty well set for a left turn, but if Great Britain can make it down, they'll have the right of way on the inside. It's going to get really tight at the bottom. When Great Britain turn, Australia have got to watch out because the British will have the right of way.
And they got to watch out for those super yachts. The fans look how close they are to gate number 2. Prime viewing condition, and it looks like Australia at gate 2 is going to opt for the left side of the course, and Great Britain at the last second decides to follow with Spain sitting at 3rd.
That's great news for the Australians. They'll be so happy to see the boats follow round behind them. They're going to be faster because they had to do no manoeuvres. Great Britain had to do 2 manoeuvres late on, and look at that, Spain are off the foils. And we see on our ladder lines here, things are already extending away. And if we can get down the water to Lisa and Blair and see whether they like the side of the course that Australia are going to.
Quick pressure out of this. Yeah.
Well, Wright has been working all day, but I think Australia's going to be pretty happy where they are. They can basically stay between the mark and the other boats. Blair, would you be pretty happy for Australia right now?
Yeah, that was a pretty strong start. They executed that first leg really well and going the right way, and they've got them covered right now, so it's going to be a tough road back, for, especially for the Spanish from here, but I think even for GBR, Aussie have really got a hold on this one.
The British boat were looking really strong, but they had a big wobble on that downwind, and that almost cost them the race.
Yeah, that really did. They pushed a little bit too hard there. I think they did the right thing driving before Australia, but yeah, I think Parker might have pushed a little bit hard there, but yeah, it's going to be a tough road back from here.
Tough road back, but I remember the grand final last year saying that the New Zealand boat was out of it and they got to back within 5 metres, so I think there's plenty of race left here. As we come up towards the Saint-Tropez shoreline, Tom Slingsby said how nervous he was of that gate 3 where there's less wind, it's gusty, it's shifty. That's where the opportunities are going to come. Of course, you'd rather be in first place right now, and we can see already Australia in a match race just trying to stay between himself and the other boats.
And all of these manoeuvres are crucial. Right now, Australia are the fastest boat by 2 kilometres an hour, but it's that foiling percentage that is critical. So far, in all of the manoeuvres, the Aussies have kept up on the foils the most, they've accelerated the quickest out of it, and right now sailing almost straight up the ladder line.
Shows how shifty the wind is, Emily, doesn't it? They just managed to almost sail straight up the course. The wind's turned back and they faced away, but expect a manoeuvre from Australia soon as they're on that yellow line, the lay line. That's the line that says they'll make it to the next gate with no more manoeuvres. If they can stay on the foils for the next 30 seconds in and out of this gate, I think they'll be well set. We're halfway through the race, but this is probably the pinch moment in the race.
Guys, let's just focus here. Yeah.
Look at Great Britain. They are making gains here as they pick up the speed much cleaner now. They're going to both head to the same side of the course.
It looks like it at the moment, and there you go. They've done a great job of this all day, Great Britain, minimising distance. We can see there the extra distance that the Australians have sailed. They've done that to guarantee safety, but what they've also done is lose a lot of lead to the British. They still have control, but it's now a pure match race between first and second, as I think the Spanish have got a lot to do now.
Yeah, stand by.
So what was nearly a 200-meter lead is now shrunk down to about 100 as Emirates GBR has closed the gap. Just 3 seconds behind at the last gate, but they decide to turn away first.
Yeah, they moved away first, but we could see there was a real dark patch of water right next to the Australian boat. I think the Australians have done a nice job of staying in good breeze, and there we go, we heard Carl Langford sailing into really good pressure. Look how high they are out of the water, and they look well lined up to gate 2. Great comms from Carl Langford there. He's talking about the wind dropping as they come down towards this next gate. So the crucial thing now is, can they get through gate 4 with no more manoeuvres or not? And here we go. We heard Tom Slingsby. We're going to go right. There's going to be one more manoeuvre from Australia here. They're going to turn the boat and head out to a right turn. Looks like they've made a gain though at this point.
Okay, hold that, Tash, hold that. Okay, now coming up. Coming up.
Tash Bryant steering really accuracy out of the jibe there, and once again Australia, he's happy to sail a little bit of extra distance to set himself up well for the next leg, but they're high. They got a little bit too high there. They skidded sideways. Good save by Jason Waterhouse. Australians are fast, but I think we've got a split.
It's one of the things we've seen over this weekend. All of the flight controllers are really pushing that right high. Yesterday the French led the way with the highest boat. Today it's the Australians.
Go, we've got a split, Todd. Lisa, Blair, what can you see on the water? Is this a game for Great Britain, or have Australia called it right?
Off your hip. Yeah, we're good, different angles.
Australia are looking pretty strong from my eyes. Blair, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think Great Britain did well to get the split at the bottom. That's what you want, but yeah, to me the Aussies are in net pressure nicely. They're coming across to the right-hand side of the racetrack looking up, and I think you'll see a tack in 10 seconds or something, and they'll have them pretty well covered.
We're going to be slow here. Stand by. Get the build on.
Tight moment there, as we can see the wind has turned to favour the British. It is tight, but this is the moment Blair was talking about. Will the Australians be able to block the breeze of the British? Australia turn. Great Britain's foiling faster than the Australians. Can they come alongside? If they can get overlapped alongside, the Australians are going to have to keep going. Here we go, Australia have got to get out of the way. Crucial moment here. It's going to be a protest from Ainsley. Look at him. Oh, there's no drama with the acting skills there from Ainsley. What a moment. Brilliant move. He's got the wind blocked.
Side-by-side drag race as Ainsley calls it, and here comes the penalty.
There was the penalty, but it's instantly scratched as the British take the lead. But crucially, we've got now one more manoeuvre for the British. Look at Ainsley, points out the breeze. It's all about this next manoeuvre.
Australia turns, here we go. So it is all on here in the penultimate leg. It is this leg and then a right-hand turn to the finish line, and the championship will be decided. Great Britain in the final leg as they approach this upwind, puts on the afterburners and gets past Australia.
What a move.
And critically there, in their final manoeuvre, they did stay up on the foils. The Aussies dropped off and lost a little more distance.
Well, we said the pressure was on, but if they can make this final right turn, it's going to be theirs. They've got a nice lead. Pressure's on, Todd, but they've delivered.
Absolutely stood and delivered at the most critical time as Sir Ben Ainsley, Hannah Mills, the rest of the crew delivered a masterful performance just when you thought they were out. Emirates GBR comes sailing back and they pass the Flying Roos. Give the win to Emirates GBR in Saint-Tropez.
Turns out they've still got it, Todd.
Yep. Awesome work.
Well, there you go, Ben Ainsley said it
Saving
well.
the best for last, Stevie, out of nowhere. And you saw the angle that they had coming up just after we heard reports that right side was more favorable. It looked like Australia had played the cards right. And out of nowhere, I think they even caught Tom Slingsby by surprise.
Well, they certainly caught Lisa and Blair by surprise because that all changed so quickly out there on the water. And as Blair said, what was really good was that the Emirates Great Britain managed to get the split. They managed to get sailing a different direction. We're going to go left while they go right. And that was crucial. It gave them the opportunity. And they made the most of it.
Okay, after the...
Spain will come in, finishing in third, and I don't want to say they were doomed from the get-go, Stevie, but you called that they were late to the start, and when you're racing against Ben Ainsley and Tom Slingsby, you cannot spot them anything, and that's exactly what they did. So Diego Botín did a great job of staying in the mix, just didn't have the power. But Ben Ainsley, as we approach that fifth leg, they are halfway up, nowhere near the Australians. They lead almost 200 meters, and then Ben Ainsley puts on the nitrous, and they go into full afterburner mode as they take the win here. It is Emirates GBR. They win the France Sail Grand Prix in Saint-Tropez.
Turn off, huh? I'll jibe. What do you want us to do? Okay, just going to jibe here.
And it has been a time, Stevie, since we've had Emirates GBR popping the champagne corks and getting the win.
Well, we've had to scratch the grey cells actually a little bit, Todd, because it's actually about May 2021, which was the start of season 2 since they've won an event. It's been a long time between drinks for Ben Ainsley and the crew. And well, now they're going to get their champagne moment here, and it's been a long time coming, but what a performance. Shifty conditions, they took advantage of a good shift. There you go, Ainsley there, tricky. Definitely looked tricky, and it definitely was a good battle, but what a show they put on for the fans on the shore in Saint-Tropez. And Saint-Tropez, well, thank you very much. You delivered such an incredible race there.
Wow, what a day of racing. Just when you thought it was Australia claiming yet another victory, just getting into the final, it is Emirates GBR raising the ghosts of the past, and they scorch the course and get into the final and win it all.
Well, here we go. This was the race to the final today, and of course a lot of it has come down to the starting, but perhaps more than any other event, there have been overtaking opportunities and manoeuvres after Mark 1, sorry. You know, the wind has been shifty, there's been boats on and off the foils, and Ainsley, what he has done well today on board Emirates GBR is they've managed to pick the shorter distance. Whenever there's been an opportunity to minimise distance, they've found it, they've done a good job of that. And that has helped, because anytime you did make a mistake, you fall off the foils with these extra manoeuvres, it just makes life very, very hard for you. As the day's gone on, the British, well, they started well, then we saw the resurgence of the Australian crew. We showed them flex their muscles before the final again. They were back in the pack early on in the race. But again, the shifty wind means even if you were in the pack, even if you were a little bit back, there was opportunity aplenty if you could execute manoeuvres well. And well, if there's any team that can do that, it's Tom Slingsby and his Australian crew, Tom.
Got to take hats off, though, to Spain. They go on to Championship Sunday, not afraid of the big moment. They finished in a second to get themselves into the final for the second event in a row. As you pointed out, Australia winning race number 5, they punched their ticket in. But for the Spanish, they are really showing us something.
They've shown they can deal with the pressure as well, but what they're going to have to take away from this is here we see the best time, Rolex best time start was Emirates Great Britain, and they were perfect timing, just 0.027 seconds behind the line. But positionally, the Australians were just on the inside. They controlled the lead to Mark 1. Now, I don't think Australia has ever been overtaken when they've led at Mark 1 in a final. This is, I think, the first time that's ever happened in SailGP, and we can see the shift that Britain got. Look, they're progressing nearly directly up the ladder lines. They're sailing directly towards the next gate. Huge gains, and there he is, Ben Ainsley. Look at that. Acting skills, sailing skills, whatever you need. He certainly made his point well. And that point was turned into a win. What a great moment for Emirates Great Britain.
Now here's a look at that start that really stole the show. GBR and Australia were focusing on each other, kind of leaving the Spanish to do their own thing, which it makes it even that more impressive that GBR nailed their timing. They were exactly on the line and going faster than both of the other boats. It doesn't get much better than that for a start. Unfortunately, that puts Spain out of the picture. But then look at these numbers, and you know what? GBR really deserved to win this, because not only were they the fastest boat on the water by 1 kilometre an hour, they also sailed the shortest distance and stayed up on the foils longer than both of the other teams while still doing an extra manoeuvre.
Wow, what a day of racing here in Saint-Tropez as Emirates GBR gets the win. They get into the final and they come from behind and pull off not the unthinkable, but an amazing result as they get the 10 points. Australia finishing in second on the 9 points, and Spain making it into the final. They finish in third and pick up 8 championship points for season 4. Oh, beautiful scenery, but let's digest and let's talk to those who were involved in today's battle. We'll start with Spain, SailGP, Diego Botín. For the second event in a row, Diego, you and your squad make it into the final. It was a tough start for you, but you guys battled on. What was the difference in today's race and not being able to get the win like you did in Los Angeles?
Yeah, obviously we didn't start quite well. Our timing, we were 2 seconds late in the start, and yeah, when you are in windward, obviously that turns into a very weak position. So from there we tried to make a couple of moves, but yeah, the Brits were always shutting them down, and they did a perfect job of sailing the course. So yeah, big congrats.
Big congrats indeed. And what a start you've had so far to season 4. There's not a lot of time now until you head to Italy. Presumably the team are feeling very confident and very happy at the moment.
Yeah, it's an unbelievable start for us. We couldn't imagine such a start, and yeah, it feels a bit that we are getting the most out of everything. But yeah, the team is feeling super pumped, and probably tougher times will arrive, but we are super happy out the start of the season.
Well, don't hang your heads, Diego, because you guys were in a position that 7 other teams would have loved to have been in, and now you look towards Taranto. The big question is, can Spain make it into their 3rd final in a row when you get to Italy?
We will see. Everything can happen.
Diego, appreciate your time. Congratulations to you and your crew, and we will see you in Taranto. Spain SailGP for the second event in a row. They make it into the final. Stevie, this time they don't win it. He called it. I mean, you can't spot, that 2 or 3 seconds to Tom Slingsby and Ben Ainsley and hope that you're going to be out in front.
Well, it comes down to such small details, and they're going to have to be very, very happy. They will see themselves way up on that leaderboard again, and brilliant for their season, but also really good, I think, because they'll have a lot of lessons to take away from this event.
So here's how it all shook down. It is Emirates GBR. They take the 10 championship season points to add to their lot. Australia, they came into this event in first place overall. They have 9 points, finishing in second. Spain again into the final. They'll pick up 8. Rockwell, Denmark just missing out. They finished in 4th, just ahead of the USA, who finished in 5th. And it's France, Germany, New Zealand. They're going to have to bounce back big in Italy, and Switzerland and Canada rounding out the 10. Australia, SailGP are the 3-time reigning and defending champions. Tom Slingsby, that was one heck of a race. At what point in that race did you think, I think we got this thing locked up, or were you always keeping your head on a swivel knowing that Ben Ainsley was still in the hunt?
Yeah, no, I didn't think we had it locked up. This venue is just so patchy and shifty, and felt like we were doing really well. We were sailing great. We knew Ben was going to split sides no matter what way we went at the bottom mark. We knew he was going to switch with us, and so we just thought, let's round the mark cleanly, get onto the same tack as him and try to get across to cover him. And just as we were looking really good, and as we came into that intersection, he had 40 degrees further right with right wind direction and more pressure, and we were just in no man's land. And yeah, honestly, if we didn't tack there and we went further, we might have lost more. You never know. So I was aggressive in defending, but it didn't work, unfortunately. And congratulations to Ben.
Yeah, well, they certainly made quite a point of acting out, very upset with them in front of you. Ben Ainsley's possibly up for an Oscar after that one. But yeah, another great result for you, Tom. And I suppose looking ahead to Taranto, you'll be feeling the team's in pretty good place.
Yeah, we did. We sailed really well. Really happy with everyone, and yeah, as everyone seems to know, we haven't done well here in Saint-Tropez, but this is a great result. We're off to a great start in the season. We're sailing well, so looking forward to Taranto.
Tom, appreciate your time, and you guys going to Toronto now with a 2-point lead overall in the championship, so well done to you. We will see you in Italy. Tom Slingsby in Australia SailGP finishing in second place. A little bit of dejection on his face. Stevie, it looked like they may have had that thing locked up, but not for an amazing race from Emirates GBR. They get it done. Hannah Mills, Ben Ainsley, the entire crew. You can mention them all because they all did an amazing job of getting that win.
Yeah, I think Neil Hunter, Nick Hutton at the front there, the grinders. You can see how tired Nick looks, and there's an awful lot of effort going into trimming that big wing sail on a day like today. Very physical outing. Luke Parkinson, the flight controller, and Ian Jensen, the wing trimmer. They've been demanding a lot from each other. It's a tight crew. It's a very experienced, high-performing crew. They won't like having not won for a long time. There'll be a lot of fired-up people on that boat, and to have finished second again would have been pretty disappointing. So to be back at the front of the fleet, big moment.
Well, the champions of the France Sail Grand Prix in Saint-Tropez, it's Emirates GBR. They get the win. Ben Ainsley joins us now. Ben, be honest, after day number 1 and race number 2, when you guys finished in 8th place, did you feel like maybe Saint-Tropez is not your kind of race course, or do you think we can definitely bounce back and win this whole thing?
Yeah, no, it's always a bit like that with this race course. It winds up and down so much that it's really tricky. So we expected some big gains and losses, and I think we saw that for all of the teams. And we just had to hang in there and keep the sailing the best we could. I think the team did a great job all weekend, making the best of what we had. And Hannah, as always, trying to get us in the right spot on the race course and reading the breeze, which was incredibly hard out here. So, as always, great team effort.
So Hannah, that left turn at the bottom, that was an obvious decision then, was it?
Yeah, always obvious, Stevie.
Well, it's been a little while between victories for you guys, so it must be a big moment for you. I think it's May 2021 since you were last at the top of the podium. This must mean a lot.
Yeah, thanks for reminding us of that, Stevie. But, yeah, you're right. It has been a while, and it's been a frustrating one because we've obviously got a great team, and there were times there where just things weren't going our way. And it's taken a lot of dedication, determination to just keep plugging away and get ourselves back into it. Finishing 3rd last season, getting into that finals race, bit of a disappointment, it was a disappointment, coming away with 3rd in that, and then struggling the first 2 events of this season. So the team have had to dig deep, and big shout out to Rob Wilson, our coach, as well, for helping with that, and the shore team that, as always, did a brilliant job getting this boat in perfect condition for racing.
All right, Ben, we appreciate it. Go get some work on that right arm because you gave that a good workout on that near collision with Australia. But congratulations nonetheless as Emirates GBR get the win. They take the title here at the France Sail Grand Prix in Saint-Tropez. What a crew, what a team effort, Stevie. And I think they said it right. Everyone had a part in that, and they got it done in the most critical time against the big giant. The Flying Roos looked like they were on their way to another victory.
They will love that, I'm sure, and I'm pretty confident. We can see them standing up here. It's been a while since they got to do this, but they have done it a fair few times in their past, so I'm expecting a successful job of dealing with this celebration and collecting of a prize. Very happy team and good for them.
Emily, I think with their resume, they probably have not forgotten how to pop the cork on the champagne and how to celebrate a win.
No, I think they know what they're doing, and they're pretty happy to be back up there.
Want to welcome Hervé Berville of France. He is the Minister of Sea, making the presentation for the trophy for the France Sail Grand Prix here in Saint-Tropez. This is event 3 of season 4. We'll see if this gives Emirates GBR the bounce back they need to get themselves back in the hunt. They came into this event, remember, they were in 6th place overall coming to this event. And this would be a nice bump for them as they will move up the ladder board all the way to 4th overall. And now the celebration can truly begin here in Saint-Tropez.
Here we go, Saint-Tropez showers.
And it's been a long time coming for Emirates GBR, but they get it done. As we take a look now at the Season 4 standings after these 3 events. Australia now 2 points clear of Spain on 24. Rockwool, Denmark sits in 23 points on 3rd. And Emirates GBR, the big winners, they move up to 4th. New Zealand, USA, France, Canada, Switzerland, they look to Italy. Well, coming up, we've got one more big event just down the road, and you won't want to miss that. Coming up September 23rd and 24th, it will be the Rockwell Sail Grand Prix in Taranto. Conditions could be very similar to what we've seen here in France. The only thing we know for sure, it will be all on as the 10 international teams go to battle.
Get ready for some chaos here. It's a bit choppy, isn't it? Guys, follow the boundary. Yes, sir. Yeah, buddy. Nice work, guys. Take a breather. We just got to focus on our job.
It's going to be a sprint now.
Stand by.
And before we say goodbye, Emily Nagel, final thoughts as we look to Italy.
I think it's going to be a really exciting event. We haven't been back there since season 2, so all to play for, and let's see who ends up on the top.
What an awesome weekend's racing, and let's just hope our Kiwi team can be back and on the start line. We missed them today.
Well, we want to congratulate once again Emirates GBR. They get the win here. They take home the title of the France Sail Grand Prix here in Saint-Tropez. It is now on to event number 4 in Taranto, Italy. We'll see you on September 23rd and 24th. So, for Stevie Morrison, Emily Nagel, Lisa Darmanin, and Blair Tuke, I'm Todd Harris saying so long for now from beautiful Saint-Tropez.
On day 2 here in Saint-Tropez.
Emirates GBR is going to make it to the finish line. The Aussies come to race 5 in Saint-Tropez. Watch for the line to turn right. There we go. Australia, got to get out of the way. Give the win to Emirates GBR in Saint-Tropez.